Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Game Informer Show. I'm Ben Hansen, joined by Matt Burtz.
Hello.
And Suriel Vasquez.
Hi.
We have a show here today, folks.
We
a
do.
show like you wouldn't believe. Starting out talking about Battlefield 5.
Mm-hmm.
You've played it, Suriel.
Yeah, the single player.
Single player. And technically you've played multiplayer, right,
Yes.
Burtz? So our powers combined, it's going to be amazing. Then we have to talk about Blackout. We had Dan Tack raving about it last week. We talked about it for the cover story for 600 hours. But now it's out in the wild. I think a lot of people in the office have been having a great time with it, so let's talk about that. Then Suriel, no matter if you want to or not, you're coming back later to talk about Calibur VI.
I do want to.
Okay,
so
great.
that's good.
We're going to have you. And then maybe Jump Force, Starlink, Lego DC Supervillains, some fun stuff, and then community emails. Then back half of the show, it is the grand conclusion, I guess, even though it was only a one-episode thing of our new pitched segment, working title, Every Game is Interesting, where we chose completely random games. We have to give a 2-minute little presentation. It's going to be judged by a celebrity guest to determine who has the best official pitch for why this game is interesting.
So it's one episode throughout which it's a working title?
That's right.
Okay.
Look, everything's working in this,
Okay.
but hopefully...
Every title is working.
Yeah, it'll be experimental and fun, and I'm very excited to talk about Jack X Combat Racing. Okay, for now, Battlefield 5.
Yeah, the single player.
Okay, so how much did you play? What'd you see?
I played through all of... So they're revisiting the War Stories format, which Battlefield 1 did, and where they had sort of multiple stories set in like different conflicts, which kind of let them like say, hey, you know, by the way, we're not going to have one troop pilot of plane and a tank and be in like multiple places around the world at once. So they're redoing that.
I gotta stop. Just on that framework, I liked War Stories. Where did you land on it, Birds?
Yeah, I thought it was a really good idea. They were never really good at executing on like a extended campaign. The one that I really liked was Bad Company 2.
Of course, yeah.
Which David Goldfarb wrote, and then he left after Battlefield 3.
Okay.
Since then, they've, you know, I think this format works better for them because it does, you don't have to figure out weird mental gymnastics narratively to combine like all these different elements that make Battlefield fun.
Yeah.
So it lets them jump around in a little bit. And what kind of world do we live in where Battlefield has single-player campaigns and Call of Duty doesn't?
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. That is so crazy. But yeah, you're totally right. I mean, I like short stories in the video game world. There's not really a lot of companies doing them. And I know we had Eric Holmes, who was a lead designer for the War Stories back for Battlefield 1. We had him on the podcast. I'd like to get him back again to talk about this because World War II setting, it seems interesting. So which did you play?
So I played the one called Nordless.
What is it?
Nordless.
Nordly.
Oh,
this is...
which Leo will be very happy to hear.
Leo, cool it in the booth there. Relax.
Which is set in Norway. And one of the things you'll immediately notice is that all of the dialogue this time around is in the native language of the location. So
no matter what.
Yeah, that entire campaign was in Norwegian with subtitles.
I like that.
I do too.
And so they have a bunch of different ones. One of them is in French. The other one I played was in English because it was in Britain. But they have, you know, they have like a prologue, and then they also have one more war story coming, I think, after launch that is in German and is, you know, based around sort of like a Tiger tank.
Build after launch plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole thing we'll get into in a bit. But what did you think? Was it about at the same quality level as Battlefield 1's War Stories?
I feel they're definitely sort of taking a lot of feedback. So they mentioned that, you know, everyone has like a favorite war story, but I feel like the consensus was that Nothing Is Written was like the most interesting one in that it was like it planted you it was the one where you were following Lawrence of Arabia.
Oh, right.
So you were in this big encampment, and so they said, hey, go take out any one of these 3 objectives however you want. And so you were able to sort of experiment with this big encampment. And so that's what they're doing with most of them this time around.
Oh, really?
But they are mixing in a little bit of like, so the one that I played all the way through, Nordless, was early on it was like...
Hang on, I'm still very confused. So it takes place in Norway, it's called Nordless, and it stars Nordli?
No, Nordli is not the character. Nordli is not a character in the...
Oh, really? Is that just a Leo joke?
Yeah, that's just the...
Well, who's to me?
Okay, Nordless, got it.
It might be the name of somebody, but it wasn't the character you're playing as.
Okay.
So you start off by skiing into this one location, and so you kind of are sneaking by them, and I think the stealth is a lot easier. And it depends on the character. So in this one, you had like throwing knives, basically.
Skiing with throwing
The
knives.
Norwegians are so
Yeah.
innovative when it comes to warfare.
Well, you weren't doing
There's
it-
tanks and planes. They're
Yeah.
like, you know what we're good at? Skiing.
I mean, you're not skiing and throwing knives at people. That would
All
be
right.
way too cool.
Canceling Peruta right now. Then.
But basically, I stealthed my way through like sort of the first half of the mission, and it seemed like very simple but pretty easy stealth. Of like, hey, if they spot you, you can, as long as you kill them before they tell anyone, you'll be good. And so later on, they had sort of objectives of like, hey, there are these two separate things you have to go take them out however you want. There are. It feels like there's more cutscenes, a little bit more set piece. So there was one sort of segment where you're sort of defending someone who's rifling through an office from people coming in, and then sort of that campaign took me about, I want to say maybe an hour and a half, maybe
Okay.
2 hours.
That's fine.
And then the other two were sort of like, one of them was set in like I want to say they said it was like no man's land in France. It was like in the southern part, which like I guess media hasn't covered as much as like the storming of like Normandy Beach or anything.
Naturally.
And they kind of tackle a couple issues. They talk about like the person you're playing as is black, and so they talk about like how they're being mistreated by the other soldiers, and it seems like they dabbled in it in the section that I saw. Who knows if they kind of go more into it later on. And so that was also a defense, but there was a lot more like, hey, you're in this point. There are these 3 points that you can go, capture or destroy in any order. And the one in Britain gave you this huge vantage point of like, hey, here you have to go in this place, but there are enemies all over the place. So like you're kind of mapping out how you're gonna get there.
Okay.
And they all have like very different tones. One of them is like an espionage novel. The other one seemed more like a more traditional like memoir kind of thing. Like the one in France felt very much like, I'm going to tell you the story of my life.
Okay.
Kind of like the Monte Grappa one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one was that again?
The Italian mountainside one.
Oh,
The
like
first
with
game.
the armor and all that
Yeah.
stuff? Okay, yeah.
And then the British one, I think, which is called Under No Flag, is sort of a more like, I'm a puckish rogue that got out of prison to do this thing that like the military knows that I can do, which is like bomb airplanes basically.
So that'll be the fun one.
Yeah, that'll be that one was a more lighthearted one. But like all those definitely felt like we like this approach of like enabling battlefield moments within the campaign so that you can get a feel of like, like I came up with this myself. Right.
Right.
It's like, that's
I
what
guess I
they
get
want
it.
to do.
Although even like the more scripted stuff, I don't know if it counts as scripted, but like my favorite from Battlefield 1 was the pilots one. Just like the framing of the story, the unreliable narrator and all that stuff. And I don't know if I was as crazy about the more open worldy tackle these the way you want, Far Cry encampment.
So maybe they're right.
missions.
Maybe everyone has a different favorite. But
That could be.
I feel like when it came out, more people were talking about Nothing Is Written than most of the other ones.
Sure. The I think it's maybe the biggest. I don't know how much of
Yeah.
it that was a factor. But like mechanically, I know that they have building in Battlefield 5. A loose kind of building.
fortification.
Fortifications, yeah.
I wasn't able to experiment with that at all on the single
Was
player.
it in the single player whatsoever?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Not from what I've seen. Maybe one of the war stories has it later on, but
Right.
from what I've played, they didn't talk about the building at all, or I didn't see like hey, now you can like usually in the first mission they'll tell you if something
Right,
you can do.
right.
So I never got those instructions. But
Did you leave more excited about Battlefield? Did you have any shift in your expectations here?
I feel like a lot of it was just reminding me that I really liked Battlefield 1's war stories of
Yeah.
like, you know what, I'm up for another round of this.
Yeah.
Like they didn't get like generate a lot of buzz in the way that like, oh wow, like the latest Call of Duty campaign is really cool or whatever. But I feel like they were quietly like really well done.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And I think this kind of left me like, okay, I'm glad they're revisiting this format. I think it's like the direction to go for this series, and I'm interested to see what else they might do. It's gonna be a little weird because like I played all through all those in like basically 2 sessions.
Yeah.
And I think sort of delaying one until after launch is gonna be like, well, am I gonna remember to go back to this?
Yeah, that's tough.
I'm hoping that I do, and I'm hoping they're good enough to be worth going back to. But like I enjoyed the one story they played, which they had sort of early versions of the cutscenes. So I'll have to. I feel like it landed its moments, but it's hard for any one story that's that short to sort of like this will really stick with me,
Totally.
especially amidst the sea of other stories that they're telling
Right,
you.
right.
But yeah, in the moment I was really into it. So
Bert's, there were news stories a while back about like, hey, Battlefield 5 isn't pre-selling too well.
Yeah.
Could this be a disaster for Battlefield this year? I mean, how's your personal buzz level for this thing going into it?
There's stuff that I'm really excited about. The game's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. There's no question about that. I like some of the stuff they're doing with the multiplayer in terms of trying to strengthen the squad relationship. I feel like a lot of people that played more of the alpha than me kind of were trepidatious about that. They felt like it went a little bit too far. You're running out of ammo really quickly, so I think there's some balancing they still needed to do. But I've never played a full experience of Battlefield 5 before launch where all the components are in there yet.
So you're saying the skepticism is normal par for the course for like the alpha and beta version of
alpha and betas for
game?
Battlefield games are always kind of messy.
Oh, okay.
There's people falling through the worlds. There's stuff they need to figure out in terms of like hit detection and things like that. So it's not uncommon. And most of the time they do get to the finish line and clean it up.
Right.
So I have faith in DICE, but it also feels extremely rushed at the same time. So I don't know. I don't know what to feel.
Right. They're in rush mode over there, some would say. Yeah, so obviously the Battle Royale, which they've teased a couple times, the rollout of this thing is bizarre.
It's the worst marketing campaign I think I've ever seen for like a major company like EA.
I know you were at the event with Trevor Noah and you were more positive on most people, but still like getting out of the gate with that, watching it, it's like I'm not excited about it.
That was such a weird event. I mean, we sat down and got the nuts and bolts of what they're doing to change the gameplay and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then they showed the weird trailer that they showed everybody first.
Right.
With like Bionic Arm Lady and like all the weird like it felt more like a Tarantino-y action movie than it did like a Battlefield game.
Right, except the internet tells me it was about women taking over the world or something. I forget exactly.
I think that's the plot of the multiplayer, but
right,
I'm not
I think
sure.
So.
But the whole thing has just been rolled out weird. Then Grand Operations, which they showed us and told us about, that sounds amazing. Then the news came out, oh, well, maybe that's not going to be ready for launch. And you're like, that's the mode we played at E3. Why would that not be ready?
And that's the one where
they
it's
walked it back and they said, no, it will be in the game for launch.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
And that's the one where it's kind of like a living thing of like having stages of the battle.
Yeah,
it's
like Grand Operations was debuted in Battlefield 1, and it's like it's a long play format for multiplayer where you're going from map to map to map, and it's a tug of war against the teams.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and they're switching up this time. It's not just one kind of game mode. You might be going from like, like a point capture thing to like a more like last stand thing where you have one life.
Right.
So they're trying to mix up the play elements in it.
Gotcha.
So it sounds cool, but we haven't seen it play all the way through. We haven't seen the squad bonuses like the V1 rockets that they showed off.
Totally.
We've seen none of that in gameplay yet.
And with this marketing push and like, letting people play the campaign, it seems like they're finally ratcheting up to release and showing more and more of Battlefield, which is nice. There's a new trailer on Tuesday and stuff showing off the campaign. But still, it just seems so bizarre to me as Blackout for Call of Duty was like ramping up, really getting out there, showing what they can do. We got to play it. We loved it from first impressions and all that stuff. But at the same time, it's like, Battlefield would release a 6-minute video called What is Battlefield 5? And there'd be a 30-second chunk where they show like the flaming ring of their battle royale called Firestorm. And it's like, hey, here we go. It's going to have, 4 teams of 16?
It's interesting how those tables have turned, because I feel like if you were to tell me like Call of Duty and Battlefield are both doing battle royales, I would feel more confident that Battlefield would be able to pull it off because
100%.
They're more used to larger maps and larger player counts. But it definitely seems like all the momentum is in Call of Duty's favor right now.
And maybe once we see the amount of destruction that's going to be in Firestorm or something,
it'll awesome.
Yeah, I mean, having that wall of fire like destroy the buildings, that seems cool and promising. But it's just been like literally they had a whole moment where, this is weird to get so into a marketing campaign, but it's interesting, where it's like, hey, Firestorm, here are the details, and it was just like a bullet point list on their site where it's like Criterion's developing it over in Guilford there. It's going to have objectives in it, which has me a little bit worried, even though it's just like, work with your team to go get some loot if you do this special objective, kind of like a capture point within the actual Battle Royale map. But I'm a little bit turned off of them. In theory, all they've said is 16 teams of 4. Like, I like playing solo. I like playing duos. And the fact that they're only supporting squads is a little odd.
Yeah, it plays to the series strengths. I mean, most people play in squads in Battlefield.
Yeah.
If you're not, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
I don't feel like that's that weird for them. But I do wonder like how well they're going to pull off that mode. They nailed operations because it plays to their strengths and their history of like incorporating elements of conquest with elements of rush. You know, that worked. They've been making that horrible multiplayer 5v5 thing for a long time now, and it's got to be garbage. I mean, it's 5 people and you're going to have vehicles. It just sounds terrible.
Yeah.
So that worries me that they've been trying to make an esport for like multiple years now.
Yeah.
So hopefully they'll do right with Battle Royale, but I don't know.
And they've also, I mean, just Googling around online, they haven't confirmed Firestorm for launch. I don't know if they've given any sort of window
that's
out there.
post-launch.
It is?
Yeah.
what a weird trickling rollout for Battlefield 5. It's going to be an interesting year for that game. And the release is, deep November at this point?
November 20th.
Jesus. But honestly, all this little bit of skepticism going into it, they release a new video and they play the Battlefield theme, sold. Like World War II take on Battlefield theme, like, all right, that's right. I like 1942 enough. I will definitely give this game a whirl. But Cyril, any final thoughts that we didn't cover for Battlefield 5?
Well, I came away pretty impressed. Like with the tech, it just looks gorgeous. Like there was one segment where there was a blizzard, and it just looked phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's like I'm excited to play. I'm not like a big multiplayer guy for Battlefield, but I'm excited to at least dive into the war stories for sure.
Yeah. Hey, you know what's coming out next week, Birds?
What?
Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh,
Your cup
really?
reminded me of that, yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah.
I really had that moment. I think Leo did too, of just like, wait a minute, looking at a calendar. Red Dead's next week? We're going to be talking about it in theory on next week's episode of the GI Show? That's insane.
If you'd come to my office more, I have a running tick-down clock.
Oh, really? Ringing the bell
I just
every
stare
day.
at it, every once in a while, longingly. Yeah.
What'd you think about that report from Vulture that it's, the main campaign is 60 hours long, I think Dan Houser said?
Yeah.
Are you ready for that?
I'll probably spend more time in that world based
Yeah.
on the feedback from Cork and other people that have played it that I've talked to.
This is going to be a tough game club. I think we're committing
You're
to it.
doing a game club for Red Dead.
Well, it's silly not to. Everyone in the world's going to be playing it. We'll talk about it next week with like having more concrete plans of exactly how that's going to roll out and how it's going to work, because maybe it's more appropriate just to do kind of like a big discussion like we did for like Zelda and Mario Odyssey, but because 60 hours is effing long, man.
Yeah.
But we'll figure it out. For now, do you lovely folks want to clap out of here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Jeff Marchiafava.
Oh!
Hero upon men. We have Andrew Reiner.
Where am I?
Zapping in. Kyle Hilliard. Always fun with the claps. This is the Blackout Squad. This is the crew that has technically never played together, but we
right.
feel a companionship.
We
Unfortunately,
have enough people for a quad match, but we actually haven't
But
done it.
Jeffem,
We're on different platforms too, actually.
well, also Jeffem prefers to appear offline on PlayStation 4. So I've been playing all weekend on PS4.
I saw you there.
Yeah, cool.
But I wanted to play solo.
We had 3 lumpy players just desperate, just thirsty
Gross.
for a fourth, and nope, I guess no one's online. What are you going to do?
I appear offline as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most people do.
Because then you don't get messages from
Well, look,
Ben.
I do it on Steam, but PlayStation's a different matter. We're talking Call of
Hold
Duty's
on.
Blackout.
Let's talk about a very specific
No, we've
Destiny
gone over
moment.
this. We've gone over this 1,000 times. Yes, I stabbed Reiner in the bag. Yes. We
I
all
jumped
get
in
it.
his lobby in Destiny,
Yeah.
and he logged off.
Because
Son of a-
I
He
don't.
saw me log in, and he's like, "Oh, I don't want to play."
Look, this
Gross.
Reiner's going to talk about that on his deathbed. It's going to be the final thing he whispers before he embraces
Before he
sweet
logs
death.
off,
Yeah, no kidding. Talk about Blackout. Okay, Dan's out of the office. I'm sure he'd love to be here talking about it, but we'll channel him in spirit. Just talking about excitement about Blackout. I'm very happy that other people are enjoying it, because I was worried how much we were drinking studio Kool-Aid after that studio visit of playing it for 2.5 hours. Like, this is great. We're having so much fun. We raved about it on the podcast. It seems like people are enjoying it out there. I don't think it's quite the phenomenon yet that I was expecting, but
Oh,
it
it
seems
is.
like it's picking up. You think it is, Reiner?
Yeah, at least with my Overwatch crew, we play that game every night. Have for 2 years now, I
Yeah.
think. Not every night, but most weeks we're
lot.
playing that game. But
Some months.
now all we're playing is Blackout. Like, we're just absolutely loving it, and
Yeah.
it's spreading, with our group. So
Well, you guys not playing PUBG on a PC, this is like the first great feeling PUBG you've ever played, which must be really an honor.
was there ever a great feeling
Yes,
PUBG?
PUBG on PC
Even
is
on
totally
PC?
great. Totally
PUBG
great.
is great, but it has been janky since launch.
Yeah, on the crappy Xbox version, there's a couple hiccups on PC, but otherwise,
And PC.
no, PC, it's totally fine.
If
Everyone's
you
an
drive
effing
a
baby.
vehicle around in PUBG, it feels
fine.
super great.
Fine, totally fine. First person,
Fine.
Yeah, it's great. I play third person. I have a great time every
I'll
time
say
I play
PUBG has been fine.
No, you're an Xbox
Call of
player,
Duty
dude.
feels great.
That is the key distinction. Is yes, it absolutely feels
That's
great.
exactly what
There we
the
go.
whole
Yeah.
argument is.
But I'm saying, stop bashing PUBG and PC just because you like the way
No,
Blackout
we're bashing
feels.
it. I played it on Xbox, and
Yeah, you guys effing suck. Leo, will you back me up, please?
What's PUBG?
Damn it! I must be
There we
taking
go,
crazy
Leo.
pills. Okay, but that's the big thing, is just how good it feels. And
Oh,
like,
man.
I recruited my friend Ronnie, like, hey, come play PUBG, or come play whatever it's called, Blackout, because we had such a good time at PUBG. And that is out of the gate. It was like, oh, this is scary smooth. And the UI works about as well as you could hope for. Any qualms whatsoever with UI, inventory, controls in general on console here?
The I don't know what they're called, but the things that you collect in the middle, they're like
Perks.
your perks.
Yeah.
But they're not. That's the problem. They're not labeled. Like
okay.
they don't tell you exactly what they do.
Well, they do if you hit start.
They do in the inventory, yeah, which is annoying though.
Yeah, I don't wanna hit
to
start.
Kyle's point.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
when
how
I
else
pick,
would you
when
do
I
that?
pick
Well,
because
something
you're
up,
online.
I want to know
don't
what
want
it
to
is.
pause the game.
You're not pausing it, but just crouch in a little corner if you're just some
I don't
noob
know.
sauce, as
Well, anyway,
they say in Call of Duty.
I'm happy to learn that it does explain what it is, but there was stuff like lung. There was one that was like lung capacity or something. I was
Big
like,
lung, I forget what it's called.
Yeah, but I was like, okay, I guess I could be underwater longer, but that wasn't the case. It was like it lets you sprint longer. I couldn't tell.
Also
It was confusing.
underwater. Yeah,
Was it?
okay.
Okay, because I was still taking damage quickly underwater.
I'm
I'm
shocked.
sure once you learn those symbols, it's fine.
Yes.
It's not
Yeah.
that bad. And that's the big thing, too, is like early on, I was like, perks everywhere. Perk. I was just picking them all up like they're candy.
Yeah.
Don't do that. It'll just fill your inventory. Like, there's
Yeah.
so many of those, like the lung one. I'm like, I'm good. But some are so great. Like, paranoia is awesome, where it'll
You
let
can
you know
activate
someone's
so
looking
many
at
at
you.
once, you know,
For
so,
sure.
yeah.
But they don't leave your inventory. They have to
Right.
start the timer. And
Yep.
some last for like 4 minutes. So it takes up a big inventory slot there. Without a backpack, that's a lot. But that's a big lesson I've learned is just like, be sparing with picking up those things in particular. 'cause they
Except for
can
the
really
little
fill
health
your
packs,
inventory.
like you just grab all those.
Oh, of course. It is amazing how much crap they throw at you in this game. Like
Yeah.
compared to PUBG, it is just
It's littered everywhere.
And I know
all over the
I know I
place.
got out of the gate complaining about like the labeling system, but it is
Yeah.
way more manageable than PUBG. Like it took me
On console.
even still, just the way the layout of like in PUBG, like I had trouble comparing things quickly in PUBG
Sure.
early on.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, sure, yeah, after you spend tons of time with it, you learn to know what everything means. But like,
Yeah.
I feel like I got a better grasp of what I was picking up and what I wanted in Call of Duty faster than I
yeah.
did in PUBG.
I still feel like I don't have exactly the guns down yet. Where it's like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I
Okay,
have
the
no
Outlaw.
idea.
I think that one's the single shot crapper that I don't like. I don't know like what my
single-shot
favorite gun is
The
yet.
Titan. Oh,
That Titan's your baby.
oh my God. The
a good
Titan
name.
is just a monster.
Yeah.
It is one of the best guns.
Okay.
I do wish there was some kind of firing range where you could just
Yep.
go and learn the weapons, because most of the time it's like, okay, this is some kind of machine gun and that one is also some kind of machine gun. And I don't want to sit there and shoot them, in
Totally.
a house and bring everybody towards me because of it.
Like
But-
yeah, like in other games, like in PUBG specifically, that starting area took
Yeah.
care of that because there was just benches and benches of all the weapons, and you could kind of
Right.
go and
And
you had to
technic-
grab them before other people.
Technically,
that
they're
in
there
this.
in Blackout,
Yeah.
but it doesn't
They're
have
more
all
spread
the
out
weapons.
though, right?
Right.
Like, I would
right.
just want just a line of them,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Other little complaints before we dive into how much we love it. Also, it's all battle royales do this, but it's always frustrating just having to go back to like the lobby menu before you launch the next game.
Yeah.
Because the number one sensation when you die in a battle royale is like, let's go, get me in that effing plane, let's go again. And they're like, oh, I guess we got to back out. So
It's
we can
pretty
go to
quick,
this.
though.
It's not that bad.
There'll be times where I'll get in the lobby and it's already doing the final countdown. You know,
Right.
3, 2, 1, and then
And you're
there's a pause
launching.
and then blackout.
It should just when it's a single like match like that,
Yeah.
it really should just go ahead and throw you in another game. Like put the sort of task on the player to pause and leave if they're done
Right.
playing, but just assume that they're going to keep going.
Well, I don't know
you
about assume, but at least have that option on that menu. And look, we're not game designers, but that like pausing on the screen lets you go to spectate, which is very fun. Jeff, I know you're a big fan of the theater mode.
Yeah, and it will actually put you into another match, but you have to wait until the match that you're in ends.
Gotcha.
And then
Oh,
it kind of
okay.
auto kicks you into the next one.
Yeah.
all right.
Complaints?
Yes.
Actual complaints? Real complaints? Unlike your crazy pants complaints going on here?
Fair.
Like, I don't know how to do inventory. Like, what the hell, man?
I know how to do inventory. I just wanted more description. Anyway.
But when you do your emotes, you
Yeah.
can emote peek.
That's the
which
big
means, yeah, which means you could do the squat emote and then
Symbol.
it goes to third person and you can move the camera around.
I haven't really done that, but yeah, definitely enough people are complaining online where Treyarch said like, all right, we'll change it so you can only use that emote in the waiting area before you launch. You can't use it in the match, which seems like a good middle ground.
And then ghost teammates. I love that you can observe your teammates after they die.
Yeah.
But all too often, I know I'm getting killed because they're communicating. Like the afterlife is living on, and they're communicating together, and they're calling out like where we're at and all that stuff. When you clearly have a drop on someone.
Well-
and then they're like, "Oh, whoa!"
But it's not like you have like a free roaming camera.
No,
They're still
but I
locked
know
into
they're
that view.
I've been in that mode where it's like
Yeah.
I'm helping my teammates because they're so focused on something. And I'll be like, "There, to the left, to the left, to the left."
Right.
But those are minor complaints.
Totally.
The emote one they got to fix though.
Yeah, and they've addressed it. They've been pretty good with feedback so far. And the more I think about it, the more excited I am just for like the amount of support this thing's going to have
Oh,
from
man.
Activision Muscle. Just like these events are going to start rolling out hot and heavy, and even just something that I've been playing a lot with 3 people And, having one rando in there is always a disaster. It's always a mess. But it's like, well, they'd never added trio support. And it's like, actually, with Activision and Call of Duty bucks, like maybe they would have time to have trio teams in there, right? I don't know how the math exactly would work out for multiplying that and whatnot, but yeah, I'm still excited about it. The map. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's
cool.
fantastic.
I like that it's not so like massive.
I've noticed the opposite, where I feel like I think I know every area at this point. I wish it was a little bit bigger. And another friend that I play PUBG with, it's like, this map is so small. It's especially not playing the new 4x4 map in PUBG that much, or not being a big Fortnite fan. Just going into this one, it's like, I like the map, but I'm definitely to the point of like, I think I know every building in this map at this point.
Isn't that more just the sort of design where like every area kind of feels distinct? Like
they do a good job of that.
I know we keep calling out PUBG, but like everything kind of feels more similar.
There's some repeated houses and stuff.
Where PUBG is like the left side is completely different from the right side, and I feel like adding more distance between that, it just means more running. Like I don't necessarily need more space.
I think I'm a fan of PUBG for that downtime, and I'm getting used to the speed of Blackout and just the intensity of it. But there are plenty of times where we're playing where it's like we will choose one smack shack out in the effing desert thinking like, okay, no one's going to come here because we just want to get our bearings a little bit on this game, maybe just get some crappy guns and have a good adventure here, because that's what I play Battle Royale games for, the adventure. And you go out there and there's like 18 other parachutes landing in there. They're jumping on your shoulders as you're trying to walk through this shack door. Everywhere you go, there are people. I can't find the abandoned area.
So what
I
you
have
do...
not had that problem playing solo
Solo,
far,
exactly.
which
Solo
I
and
guess
duo, I don't
there's
have that problem.
12
But in
more
quad,
people
it's a
and-
mess. Yeah.
So what you do when you hop out of the plane, little pro tip,
Please.
immediately 65 miles an hour,
Straight down.
and then you can glide to anywhere, and you
Right.
will be one of the first ones there.
How long?
Without
Do you just
question.
go to the 3 bars on the right and then you...
65 miles an hour, right when you hit that, just immediately go out.
You're going to see some serious ass.
And oh man, you're hauling ass.
Yeah. What's your favorite spot on the map, Reiner?
Asylum
Really?
with the zombies, because
Okay.
you get those drops from them. Also, it really exposes enemies and you know, if you're not being careful. But yeah, that's where my crew really wrecks. Also, man, I love the layout of the farm, because if enemies are coming at a certain point, they could get in those cornfields.
Right.
But if they're coming from a different angle, there's like the salad field or whatever it is, the cabbage, they're just out in the open. You just pick them off, and it's super funny.
For sure.
Because they go prone, and it's like, it's not even like grass. You know, it's like, I see you.
Yeah.
you're going down.
Jeff, you have a favorite spot on the map?
Not yet, I don't think. I usually head out to the boonies, you know, wherever, and just pick one little place. But I have had more luck with that than you, and maybe it is because
In
I'm
solo.
playing in solo.
It's
but
huge, yeah.
Array is really good too.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Kind of
for
the
sure.
outskirts, there's those 4 or 5 houses that you could quickly bounce between, opening the shutter
to
doors.
the northwest of Array?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right in the array itself, next to the big satellite dishes, there's kind of this little pocket of houses, like these little
okay.
shacks.
Oh,
and there's
gotcha.
always good gear in those.
Yeah, right next to Array is a place we always drop where it's the 6 little houses. I call it the tiny houses, but no one is joining me in calling it the tiny houses. But I love jumping to that. That's a big one for me. Also, right to the left of the hydro dam, there's like those 2 big office towers that don't look like much from the aerial map, but those things are always just a bounty, and no one ever goes there.
A similar approach. I always go underneath Nuketown to the tunnels, because there's always good stuff in there, and I mean, people will find it soon, but early on, I don't think people know you can go underneath it and find those, like, the underground bunkers and stuff.
Right,
like
all those
that.
mannequins for you to kiss.
Exactly. There's pinball tables down there too, which is fun.
Oh, fun.
And I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's got such a serious theme, but the zombies and then the ray gun, having that in the game already,
Yeah.
like, I think this thing's going to get as wacky as Fortnite to a certain degree.
Oh, God.
Maybe not wearing like clown suits and dinosaur suits, but
Yeah.
I think we're going to see some pretty exotic stuff
some
moving
radical
forward.
heights.
It is like that sweet spot where a lot of people out there are still learning the game, so we have a shot at being decent at this game overall. And also, like, we're going to look back 6 months from now and say, oh, this was pure Blackout, before it really went off the rails and they started adding all of that nonsense. They're hinting they're going to add something out in the ocean, which would be cool. I want like a train to go through, but when we see this game 6 months from now, it's going to be just badass.
The one thing I want from this genre, and PUBG started doing it, is just more maps. Like, whoever delivers a lot of maps, like the fastest, like that's the key. Because right now, like, everybody's content with one map. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like these guys are like getting away with murder, kind of, these game developers. It's like, yes, they're changing Fortnites, but it's like, it's one map. And like you guys are saying, like, I already know the whole thing. But if you had 5 at launch,
I don't know.
that
I
would
mean,
be amazing.
I think people like the smaller new PUBG map, but like Miramar, when that came out, like it's still left kind of a bitter taste in people's mouths.
Yeah,
So like,
I mean, they're testing the waters, right? Like on size and scale and stuff
right,
like
right.
that.
So it's not always a surefire hit. Like I'm okay with the map. I would hope that their next map would be bigger, but I doubt they're going that direction.
I'm always also, this might be just me, but like when it comes to online multiplayer, I usually find like 1 or 2 maps that I love and just kind of stick with those. So I like having the one that everyone learns. So I don't know if more maps is the right direction. I just want more. I want a more dense singular map, you know, which I feel like that's what Blackout is doing so well for me. It's really dense, and and it's distinct everywhere. There's a lot to learn, and
Yeah, they even it's interesting talking about density. It was fun talking to those designers while at Treyarch, just talking about how they really had to wean themselves off of detail in the world, like because this is the 3rd or 4th, I forget exactly, iteration of the map. They nuked it. You can see it in the first trailer they released for Blackout. It's a completely different map. But
Release that map.
well, I don't know if it's that different. Rearranged, kind of like a remix, you know?
Okay.
But they were talking about like they just were treating it like a Call of Duty map, like one big Call of Duty map, and they had so much crap out there, and then just realized like, you know what? We need some rolling hills where the circle can end up. Like it is fun when the circle ends on just here's 4 rocks and a tree. Go. Like there's a thrill in that, you know? And they also had an interesting theory talking about like how do we make an interesting map? And it's tough to see, but their take was they want an X layout of activity. So if you look at the map and put an X over it, they're like, we want the hotspots on that X so that there's down points in between that. But that was the rough framework for what makes a good Battle Royale map, which is an interesting philosophy.
And this one's just kind of a greatest hits, right? Like of Call of Duty history.
Yeah.
It'd just be nice to have something that's a little different too, right? Like just new stuff.
Something original.
Not Nuketown again and stuff
No,
like that.
I guess. I mean, they cover so many different looks in this. I mean, they have the desert and they have, it's basically combining the first 2 PUBG maps, now that I think about it, into one map, which is like, what more do you need, people? But they did say on the Lingering Questions podcast for the GI show, Von der Haar said that like they have no plans of making a new map at this point, even though there were like hints of it and like talks of it in the studio a little bit of like, oh, maybe for the next map. But Von der Haar seemed pretty clear. They're like, nope, one map. Here we go.
Who was the guy that said next map? Promote him.
Yeah, more maps, I say.
I love the game. Like seriously, like the intensity. And Fav and I were talking about like best grass design in video games. Like that grass is like as good as a flak jacket. Like you
Really?
or like an invisibility cloak. Like
ghillie
you go
suit.
down in that, like you go down to that, and it's just like you are invisible. Like it was almost like a single player. There was one moment where I landed late at this like changed direction and landed at this camp. There was already like 4 guys there, and I'm like, I'm so screwed.
Yeah.
They're raiding everything. So I just laid in the grass, and it was almost like a single player Call of Duty moment where I'm just right here. And they ran like 3 feet by me, all 3 of them, or all 4 of them, and I was just like, "Oh my god!"
All gillied
But
up.
I'm just sitting there with my fists, you know, like,
Yeah.
I can't do anything about it.
That's the fun. I know people wrote about it when PUBG first got huge too, but like the thrill of it is, especially in solo, just treating it like a effing horror film of just I'm just creeping around this house. I know someone's gonna bust through a window.
Sitting in the
at any
bathroom
point.
with your gun aimed
That's
at the
how you
door.
play Battle Royale. How many times do I have to explain it?
And there's been moments where it's kind of felt like Rainbow Six Siege,
Totally.
where we're hunkered down at a building and we're like, okay, anybody opens those doors, they're going down. And all of a sudden, the next thing we know is like bullets just flying through the walls.
Yep.
And we're just laying prone, like, oh my god, they know we're in here.
Yeah. What do you guys think about the items so far? Have you used many of those outside of the perks?
Not really.
I feel like it's a real growth area where I'll always keep that in my boot, but that sensor dart is amazing if
Yeah.
you guys aren't using
Yeah.
that. Like every time you launch that, that's
What
my
is
favorite
it?
item in the game. That's just, it sends a little like radar ping to show you the enemies in the area.
Oh,
So if
okay.
you're like,
You see red dots.
Right. And it makes a little bit of a noise, I think, so other people can hear it. But
Yep.
it's so awesome when you're in like a little town. It's like, I know they're coming in at some point. There might be somebody here. Let's just shoot out the sensor dart. We can see exactly where they are and what's happening here.
That's cool.
RC car, I love. It's also my
Yeah,
second
we use
favorite.
that every once in a while, but that really could give you away too.
And your hose because your body's just standing
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
The monkey, I guess that's
Symbol
a
monkey, yeah.
grenade, the cluster grenade. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh.
Just feels like it's out of Worms, like the banana grenade. It's just insanity when that thing goes off. It's so much
The
fun.
game's so good.
It is
Seriously,
very
it is
good.
very good.
I just quickly wanted to highlight the like driving the ATVs feels like much better than I thought it would in a weird way.
Because it's a Warthog.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because I guess it's been a while since I've driven a Warthog in Halo. That I was like, oh yeah, this is like a really good way to drive around. It kind of surprised me because like when I got on it, I was surprised how much fun I was having just driving it around.
Totally, and especially compared to PUBG. The vehicles don't feel like an instant death trap. Like, you're still going to get shot at, and that's great. But in PUBG, it's like, you get on a motorcycle with your buddy, like, the odds of you flipping and at least being downed from some sort of vehicle accident with the terrain is about 40%. And so, like, in this, it's like, you can floor it. You're never really going to kill yourself on that four-wheeler. You're totally fine.
What do you guys think of the leveling? It's pretty brutal. Like, you have place in quads top 5, duos top 10, and then top 15 for solo.
I don't care
to
about
get
any of that.
experience, and then you don't get a lot for kills.
It's like 10 in
finishes.
solo.
Yeah.
You get 10 points for killing someone and like 50 points if you're in top 15.
Dumb question. Why do you guys care about that? What do you want?
New skins.
I just want a reward. I just want some like acknowledgement that I played a match. Like even just to tick up a little, because I feel I've had a lot of matches where I died early on, and it feels like I'm wasting my time. I know it's
Playing a game for fun?
It's stupid, but I just want some acknowledgement of like, all right, yeah, you tried here, just have 10 points.
Just a tick.
Yeah.
Or dealing damage, tick. Stay alive for a certain amount of time, tick.
Right. Yeah, satiate the babies. I agree. Do you guys have a favorite moment?
Yeah, I'm sure that everyone else feels that way. Everyone hates getting experience
no one likes
for playing.
progression.
I don't like it. You guys have a favorite moment that you've seen in the game so far that you've played?
Yeah, one of our guys shot down a helicopter with four people in it.
Oh my god!
And I mean, I don't know if you've seen that happen. Not only is it just seeing the 4 kills, but when those things crash, it is the loudest, most violent looking thing.
Awesome.
It's so cool.
It's so much fun too. Like my first time flying a helicopter, I was so excited. Like, I'm just gonna hover up here forever. This is gonna be great. I got my buddy Grant behind me. This is gonna be the best. And then just seeing that missile incoming, locked. I guess jump out, and like just jumping out at the last second as you see your helicopter explode and you wingsuit down to the ground. So much fun.
I like the idea of like a military strategy being like, I guess jump out.
That's what it comes down to. It's so quick. And like if you're in the truck, it's like missile lock, dive out. It's so much fun.
Anytime you hear any kind of footstep, your heart just starts racing. Like, I mean, it's like, oh, here we go.
Right.
The hunt is on. Like,
Right.
It's so good.
Yeah, I had one match where it was down to me and one other guy, and it was like a classic duel in these, in like the final circle area. And
What was the environment like?
There were a couple buildings, but they were kind of getting edged out in the circle as it was going down, and he had way more equipment and stuff than me. But it was, I ended up dying, obviously, but it was. My heart was ready to explode as it was going on, but it was a satisfying end in that, I didn't just get shot in the back of the head before I knew where the guy was. We actually got into a shootout, and we're both shooting each other, and I died first, but I'll take it.
Yeah, it's got to happen. Yeah, I've had a series of second place finishes, and it's like, I'm satisfied with that. I mean, I'm not, and I will not stop playing until I win here, but it's just like, there's so much fun by the end. Like, just that moment of like, wait a minute. We're under 10 players here, folks. Like, it's just that moment of like, no one's going to say anything, but get your effing game on.
Yeah, it's funny. Our crew will start yelling, "We're in the money!" Because you're getting experience, and it's just a matter of like how much you're going to get.
Yeah.
By the way, missed opportunity that went, and I haven't won, but when you win, I had that magical dream that we all share. It just says victory, right? It doesn't like have some kind of like
you get
phrase that you could.
Winston Churchill says, "You did it, son."
Yeah, just
boy,
I've
aren't
done
I
it.
clever?
It
just
not
says
that
victory,
hard,
right?
What's that? There's only 100
It's
players.
pretty easy. I don't know why you're having so much fun.
Yeah, it says victory, and then you get, I think your first time you get 2 kind of icons for your profile and a lot of experience. You should be able to level up right away.
I just like Fortnite had Victory Royale and Winner Chicken Dinner. It just seems like they should have something that's like specifically fun to say other than having to describe I won a match of Blackout.
Well, it's confusing. Like as we said in the rapid fire, we asked him what it's going to say, and he's like, "Oh, you'll get like the victory quotes." And so I said, like, so when people win, they'll be like, "I got the victory quotes." And he's like, "Yeah, we think so." I was like,
I don't think people are saying
no one's
that.
saying that.
Yeah, there was a quote there, and I was just like, whatever.
Yeah.
I was more like, that skull logo is really cool.
Yeah, I'm going to intimidate
the skull
everybody.
logo.
This is going to be sweet. I'm really, really loving it. It's tough at this point to be like, do I still like PUBG more? What do I like about PUBG more? And it's
Jank?
getting close. F that. It's not bad. It's totally fine. And also it's
fine.
It's intimidating because I've liked Call of Duty single players campaigns in the past, but I haven't played a lot of multiplayer. And so just being thrown in with like this Call of Duty crowd watching and spectating after I die, it's like these people have been playing since Modern Warfare at least, and like I can't compete with these skills. Good God!
And that is the area you had mentioned earlier. How much I like the theater mode.
Yeah,
it is super cool. It breaks all the time on PS4 as of right now.
Was it janky?
But it's cool to go into the theater mode because you can move the camera around and rewind and fast forward and stuff. So it's really interesting to be able to go back and actually look and say, okay, there was that guy that I never saw up on the cliff, and he followed me down here, and then follow him around and kind of see where everyone is and what they're doing.
The party that happens after you die. Yep. Also, something I love that I feel like is a secret weapon, and we did a live stream last week focusing on it, and it seems like people are very into it. There's not the loudest voice on the internet, but split screen. I think split screen in Battle Royale is huge. Now, we were playing it on a PS4 Pro, and in a 2-hour stream, it crashed twice. Also, the frame rate was suboptimal. It wasn't 60, and then playing on my normal PS4 split screen, it was 30-ish. It was a little bit rough, and like textures a little bit all over the place. And speaking of textures, the text is 100% unreadable. Other than those aspects, like split screen, and if they continue to support it and like change the UI a little bit so it's readable text, like I think that's so huge. I think people really appreciate that out there.
I mean,
sounds like PUBG.
Yeah, F you, good game.
I was just going to say I'm happy to take the technical hit just to be able to play with somebody on a couch.
For sure, and I'm glad they took the risk, because even in the last podcast we did with them, they were saying, like, I don't think it'll be there for launch. We're still testing it out. And the fact that apparently they sprinted for the finish line and got some version of split screen out the door at launch, it's crazy.
You know what's funny is, like, everybody's like, oh, it's going to be like 50 player, it's going to be 64 player.
Right.
And then everybody's shocked. It's like, whoa, they did 100 player. And then it's like on top of that, like, oh, we also have split screen. It's like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Well, it's still 88, right? Or did it go
It's
to
100 for some modes, yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
You're not paying attention
I'm
when you're
playing
playing, are you?
No, solo has always. I'm only
Dang
played
it,
solo. It's always been 88. So
Yeah.
I learned something.
Also, fun fact, I saw this on, I think it was like the Call of Duty Reddit. There's like a multiplayer and a zombies mode in this game, too. Did you guys hear about this?
What?
There's a
what?
what?
There's like a multiplayer and a zombies mode in the game.
No.
Oh yeah.
I only know of Blackout.
That got a whimper laugh from Leo in the booth for people listening closely. Hey, shifting a little bit. Reiner, you know what's coming up November 3rd?
No.
Extra Life. Extra Life 2018.
Yeah. 25-hour live stream.
25-hour live stream.
Hosted
Is it going to
by-
be all Blackout?
Yeah, right.
I wasn't planning on playing Blackout. One of the ideas we had was to play all of the Battle Royale games on mobile with like play with your feet and your hands and like outstretch with 4 different
iPads
phones
or something?
Yeah, that was the idea.
Love it.
I don't think we'll do that anymore, but it's going to be 25 hours of wackiness, a bunch of antics. We're raising money for Gillette Children's Specialty Healthcare in St. Paul, Minnesota, November 3rd. So mark it on your calendar. Tune in, YouTube or Twitch or GameInformer.com. We'll be having a lot of fun. There's going to be some recurring gags. We'll have pies. Leo will probably, I don't know.
That we throw in faces.
Yes, very important. Leo will have
not to be
centipedes
eaten pies.
crawled into his ear and eye holes, or whatever else, however he wants to absorb the insects this year. A lot of fun ways to donate and F with us.
Yeah, lots of cool stuff in the auctions.
This is very true. And last year, I feel like we were a little too secretive about like, oh, we got some auctions. Don't want to tell you what it is. But this year, we'll try and be more open with what we actually have. But
What do we got?
some very good stuff. We
Oh,
have been
you're
collecting
doing it
stuff throughout the
again.
year.
Secretive.
Okay, today.
Give us a list.
Today, I got a wonderful package in from BioWare. You could have a copy of the Mass Effect trilogy signed by Casey Hudson. That type of thing. Where it's like, that's cool, you know?
That's cool.
So a lot of fun industry insider stuff like that. A lot of games to give away. It's going to be a blast. So GameInformer.com, November 3rd. Don't forget, it's for charity. It's for the kids. For now, Jeffem and Reiner, do you guys want to clap out? Hey, here we go. Kyle's still here. Brian Shea has joined
Hey.
us. Door crushing Brian Shea. We have Serial Vasquez.
Hello, I don't crush doors.
Shay
Welcome,
broke the door to the studio.
welcome to the show. That's true. But look at his guns. Flex for the camera, Shay. Come on, you
Do
monkey,
it.
dance.
Come on.
Both of my arms
Here.
are broken.
Okay, pretty convenient. What a handsome man. Have you
very-
seen Shay lately?
Oh, I
attractive.
thought we were talking about Kyle.
How dare
No,
you?
definitely. We're talking about you, man.
Soul Calibur 6, ladies and gentlemen. Soul Calibur 6. You are reviewing this sucker, right, Surreal?
Yes, sir.
But the review is not online yet because you're waiting for...
Online servers, and also I'm not done with it yet.
okay.
There is a lot of single player content that is bloated, I think.
So there are
Loaded.
two like story kind of modes, right?
there are two story modes, basically.
Okay.
So one is like for your custom character, and the other is, hey, we're continuing the saga of these hooligans.
Well, they're retelling the saga. They're not really
Oh.
continuing it. So okay. Let me break down the simpler one. So
Please.
the story mode is basically like a timeline, and it shows you, okay, here's the main storyline, and that's sort of like the closest they get to sort of the Injustice style, like, hey, we're gonna tell one story and you play as different characters.
But at the same time, like, the production seemed cheaper. It's just like a bunch of still images
Yes,
and
it is.
stuff.
It is.
Oh, no.
It is basically them trying to do the Injustice thing with a much lower budget.
You guys like stills?
Yeah. If you like, I straight up feel that a lot of your enjoyment of the single player content is how much you like reading. Like that is because it is basically a visual novel. Like
I'm
that
sorry.
is.
I derailed you, though. What were we going to say?
Is there at least voiceover?
There's voiceover depending on the mode. So the timeline mode has voiceover, but it's all still like, hey, here's these two characters in a still with a background. Sometimes when something crazy happens, it shakes. And so you have like the main storyline, which takes place over, I think, like 4 or 5 years. And then you have like, here's what every other character is up to during that time. And there is one for Geralt, in case you were wondering.
Oh, how is that one?
I haven't played through it yet. Like I said, I'm not done with it yet.
Okay.
But he is part of those stories. But I feel like it's even less of a role than like Kuma played in Tekken 7.
Right. So this is Geralt from Witcher 3, which is
Yes.
playing random matches with him. It's funny because like he'll have some lines after where he goes, "Damn, place is just strange."
Yeah.
It's just like the laziest. Like, where am I?
Wait, so is he canon in Soul Calibur?
They place him in the world.
okay, so
Like,
he's like
He
the
travels.
he
well, he's
they-
like the Spartan in Dead or Alive 4.
Yes.
Well,
Where
he's
there
more,
is
no,
a
he's
canon
more like a
reason
Kuma.
why there's there.
He's more like a Kuma in Tekken 7 in that it
she's
is
there.
acknowledged that he has come from another world.
Okay.
And he has a few like interesting lines there.
So in the next Witcher game, he will
right.
reference that time
Yes.
that he traveled.
They have confirmed that.
What
Yeah,
does
you
he
ever
say
fight
when?
Nightmare?
What does he say when he gets ringed out?
He has 2 lines. He says, "This is ridiculous," and "Oh, what the hell?"
It's good.
Gwent. Yeah.
What is happening?
But I do. I in terms of him as a character, I really like him because he uses all of his signs in different ways. So he has one. He has a fire. He has a fire spell. He has. I think my favorite one. It's the hardest one to use. But it's the Erden one, which you use to trap monsters in the game. So basically, he places the sign around himself, and if you hit him during it, he'll launch you into he'll freeze you in the air.
Yeah.
And there was a match that I saw, like a pro match, where Sonic Fox was actually using him, and he used that sign against someone, and they were at the edge. So he trapped them, and so he was like in stasis, and he just like walked right behind him and knocked him out of the ring.
That's
it's like,
fun.
it's a really cool move.
Yeah.
But to go back to the story mode, so the other one is called the mission mode, and this is basically you create your character, which I created Travis Touchdown, of
course.
and so I gave him the Geralt style, and so basically you are on this little map. Well, it's a big map actually, and so you're taking on these missions as you go. And so like they'll say, hey, here's a thing, fight a guy under conditions, and then you move across the map. So it's like this, basically jotting your course. And along the way, you can take on side quests where it's like, hey, if you go off in this direction, you can fight these scoundrels or whatever.
Sure.
And that mode took me I just finished it like yesterday, and it was about 15 hours. And so it's 15 hours of like fights and reading. That is basically what you're doing. Of like
A normal day in my life.
basically just like a choose your own adventure. Like, hey, he stumbled upon this cave and found that like there might be treasure, but oh no, there's a bad guy in here.
And there's a ring out surrounding the bad guy.
That's right.
And it looks remarkably similar
they
to
actually-
the place where you
they
fought
did-
60
recently.
seconds on the clock.
There are certain fights where they'll just say like one of the coolest things about the mode. Actually, I think despite sort of the lack of a budget, I actually think it's really ambitious, and I think a higher production version of this would have been super cool.
Right.
Because you engage in under special conditions. Like there's like the most common one is the stage is slippery, so if you like do an attack that moves you forward, you'll just slide across the entire stage, and so it's really easy to get a ring out that way.
Yeah.
And there are things where it's like, hey, your opponent's attacks are poisonous, so don't like if you get hit, you'll slowly start losing health. And I think those objectives are really cool, and they also mess with the AI a little bit, where some of the stronger opponents will be more defensive. They'll constantly like try to reflect your attacks on you, and so like certain attacks of theirs will be stronger. Like, hey, these guys will hit you with low attacks a lot. And I think that does a really good job of saying, like, learn how to do these moves. So I think it does a pretty good job of making you interact with the entire fighting system.
Yeah.
And also, I think one of the ways that Tekken suffered, I think, is that it had these really complex characters, and I think Soul Calibur has that too. But Tekken didn't really introduce you to the fighting system. It didn't even have a tutorial, and like you'd go into a character's move list and see like this character has 100 moves. Figure out which ones are good. Like this one, straight up, anytime you're playing, you can just pause, and there are these things called combat lessons. So if you go into like, all right. What is Geralt supposed to do? They have a quick tutorial. Okay, Geralt is based on all of his signs, and so you want to use a lot of your meter, which you have, instead of your super, basically. And they'll tell you like this specific attack is good at this range. This other attack is good at this range. If you want to stop people from running in on you, use this attack. If you want to sort of engage from like a low attack, this is a pretty good one that hits you from far away.
So, just in general, Soul Calibur 6. I mean, are you a fan?
I'm really into it. I think I came into it with like a mix of like I'm really excited for a new Soul Calibur because I didn't really play 5.
Okay.
But I was sort of like trepidatious about how intricate it would be and how sort of like is it simpler than I remembered it. And I think they've added a lot of layers. Like the reversal edge, I think, is super layered in terms of it, like they pitched that as here's rock paper like here's this 3-way rock paper scissors. It's actually like an 8-way rock paper scissors because you can dodge and guard, and so and there are multiple rounds under which certain attacks do certain things.
Sure.
And so it's super deep, and there's ways to parry it before the attack lands, and you can sidestep it. So like there's a lot to the combat, obviously, in the game, and but I think it works well enough that if you're just jumping in, you're just mashing buttons, it feels really fun because like the swords are super flashy. It's very easy to understand like the idea of like vertical attacks. They'll hit wide, but not, low. Vertical attacks you can sidestep, but they're super strong.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot simpler to understand than I think Tekken's, which can sometimes be arbitrary. So I'm really enjoying it so far. It's just,
good.
I haven't gotten my hands on the online too much, and the network test had a bunch of issues where matches were kind of laggy. It was taking forever to find an opponent, so I'm kind of like hesitant to weigh in on that. But overall, I'm super pleased with it. The story mode I think could have been done better.
Yeah.
But you can totally skip it and just have fun with it.
That's awesome. You know what's fascinating about this, Jay?
What?
Soul Calibur is I like seeing this series carry forward and still have like this. It's like they're like stuck to the Soul Calibur franchise are like remnants of Dreamcast fans. Like most people that are Soul Calibur fans were big Dreamcast fans. And even though the Dreamcast is long in the annals of history here, there's still like this lingering attachment for like, I bet you like this because you're a Dreamcast fan.
I love Soul Calibur. It's my favorite 3D fighting franchise.
And are you a big Dreamcast guy?
Of course I am.
Of course.
By the way, the character creation, you can do some real dumb stuff, but you can also not do some real basic stuff. Like I, of course, tried to create Link because he's the best Soul Calibur character ever.
Of course.
And you can't really do a good Link. Like there's no tunic or anything, so I was like, all right, I'll do Breath of the Wild Link, and none of the styles
Link.
look good for him.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
There's also like different races. Like you can be a skeleton, you can be
there
a
are
lizard
some
man.
cool stuff there, but
you can be Link Skeleton.
Yeah, you can be like an elf, like a fairy, or something. Like there's different.
Not relevant.
Yeah, no.
That sounds awesome. Pop quiz, Kyle.
yes.
The history of guest characters in Soul Calibur.
Okay.
Which Soul Calibur entries did not have a guest character on the cover?
1.
Correct. And one other one.
3.
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah.
How did you know
got
that?
it.
I worked at GameStop for years.
That's
I just
amazing.
stared at box covers.
I don't even know if 3 had a guest character.
It
did
did.
didn't.
Cosmos.
Oh, that's right.
Cosmos was a 3.
I remember that was the
But
PS3.
I think Cosmos was,
PS2
I think, a
exclusive.
created character, though. Like, I
Oh,
don't think
really?
you could play as Cosmos. I think you could make a character look like Cosmos.
Speaking of which,
So it was lame.
real quick
Yeah.
question about the single player. How does the single player compare to the single player in 3, where you had like the strategy moving through the
There's
map?
really
and
not. Like, there's not like a, hey, I need to hold this fort or anything like that.
Well,
It's
I'm out.
It's really just, it's basically like a light RPG where you're leveling up, you're finding weapons as you fight, and then like there are objectives that's like, hey, this is a level 72 quest. You can't go there yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've only played arcade and spent multiple hours in character creation.
Wow.
Yeah.
There we go. Hey, Jump Force also had a beta this weekend. Stress test.
Fighting games?
I played it. Kyle played it. Kyle put a video up about it. Did you guys check it out at all?
I
No.
looked at it.
Okay, you're familiar with Shonen
Soriel
Jump.
sent me the code and said, "Could you please play this instead of me?"
Shay, I feel like you reviewed one of the last Shonen Jump fighting games, didn't
I
you?
did not review it. I wrote a preview about J-Stars.
Okay, yeah, people don't really talk about it. This is just like a continuation of that line,
really
right?
is.
Is
Yeah.
that fair to say?
But like with a much bigger budget, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and actually-
higher production values.
The production value's the opposite of Soul Calibur, where I played this and was like, this is actually a little bit better than I was expecting. Like, it was
It's
rough.
It's flashy as hell.
Yeah, but the lobby itself, it was like 10 frames a second. I was running around with like dozens and dozens of MFers in this very Namco-style online
Take
lobby.
it from 5 avatars. You know, there are only 5 avatars
Right.
you can select. Yeah.
So you can choose like someone in insane armor or like, you know, another lesser choice if you want. And I was really excited about this beta because I was like, oh, I want to jump in because I watched a fair bit of...
You didn't sound excited when I offered you the code.
Well, I was excited specifically about one thing, which is that Yugi is in this.
Yes.
Yeah, he
And
wasn't in the beta.
That was the bummer because I'm
Yeah.
like, that's the most interesting fighting game character to me in this mix. Like, I know how Frieza's going to fight. Not that exciting for me.
Yeah, yeah.
But I want to see what Yugi's like, and not in the beta.
Yeah.
What a bummer.
Yeah, he was in the beta. Who's what's the Death Note? Those characters. Do you guys know how
They said they're
going
going to be in the story. I don't remember if they're going to...
They're not
yeah,
fighting because that's another
yeah.
interesting. Like, how does that work? But
Right,
Yeah,
right.
Because I guess Yugi, you basically play as the characters in the cards. I
So it's
think,
like
right?
Pokemon Trainer and Smash.
I think so.
Oh,
I could be wrong
that
about
could be
that.
really fun.
That'd
I
be
just want
awesome.
to see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dark Magician.
Without trying to pronounce any of the other anime names, which you may have botched in the video, Kyle.
I know people are lovely comments.
Yeah.
who
Did
make
you have
fun of me.
thoughts or takeaways?
So playing it at E3, I was very pessimistic about it. Like I
Yeah.
came away from being like, this is not good. But playing it, I'm still overall pessimistic about it.
Okay.
But like playing with the beta and getting a chance to just like play like an hour with like just the versus CPU mode, I like the computer characters in the game were like I think intentionally made very very easy just to give you a chance to like figure out how the
Comp
systems
stomp 'em,
work. Yeah. And just getting a chance to really figure it out, that it's really what that game is about. It's not about like, doing really good counters and really good combos. It's about building up your like meters and unleashing special attacks because the special attacks.
Sure that's what it's about, or is that just for a rookie?
I mean, that's like the game is so flashy and it's
Yeah.
so proud of its animations that it really like every character you just hold down L2 and you have the sort of the face buttons do the main attacks, and then like so yeah, I mean I think it's about dodging and putting in like little combos as much as possible because like the dash moves are really big and flashy like everything else in the game, so it's really easy to get out of the way and try to like unleash your special abilities, and that's when the game looks the coolest, is when you're doing all those really big character specific flashy attacks
Over and over and over and over.
over and
again.
over and over again.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Are you optimistic about Jump Force, Serial?
Not really.
Really?
I haven't been a big fan. Like my biggest frustration is like it's not something I can continue to hold against them, but like those first Jump Stars games on the DS were super good.
Oh, really?
They were basically like Smash Brothers clones, but like there was like a deck building aspect to them where you'd assemble like a comic page out of different panels, and depending on the size of the like if there was like a 7-star panel basically of this particular character, he'd be very powerful, or if you had like a 2-star panel, it'd be like an assist basically.
Yeah.
So and that let them include a bunch of like obscure characters just as assists, and it was basically like a Smash Brothers game where you could play as your favorite anime characters, and it was really cool. But like when it went into 3D, I feel like I'm just not like a big fan of those like over the shoulder.
It's a
games.
very familiar genre.
Yeah,
now.
which is funny because like
Tenkaichi.
Yeah, the Xenoverse,
Yeah.
the Xenoverse games, and the new Final Fantasy that came out that we were pretty down
and
on. Too.
World of Final
it's
Fantasy?
actually kind
No,
of
not
Dissidia.
World. Dissidia.
Dissidia.
because like Soul Calibur has a mode like in the options where it says, do you want to make it like a more cinematic camera that is that over the shoulder battle for like single player stuff? And I tried it and it doesn't look very good. Like it reminded me of like just the perspective of over the shoulder does not feel like it is in line with like making a good fighting game.
Right.
And I just haven't had fun with those 3D games.
Yeah.
But a couple good things. Like I like how big the cast is because even in the beta, the cast was huge. So that's fun. And then I lost my train of thought.
Your pinky finger.
My pinky finger. I do like how everyone is functionally the same.
Yeah.
Like it's simple, but it also means that you can play as a bunch of different characters and still be successful. So
Right.
obviously I found some that I liked that I was like sticking with, but it was very easy to move over to a different character. So
Yeah, right on.
Did you play the Saint Seiya character?
is that the Pegasus?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. He was cool.
How's he?
was fine.
Nice.
Yeah. He shot big bows and arrows.
He's looking good.
Yeah, he's looking good. He grows wings
Does he
after you do
throw the- he
your
throws the-
awaken technique.
Does he throw the Sagittarius arrow? As one of the supers?
I don't know.
I think he does.
Nexus Meteor Punch.
He actually, I'm pretty sure he does.
Okay,
actually,
cool.
did he ask about Serial?
Yeah.
Kyle, did he ask about him?
I went and talked to him.
about
I
him?
talked to him in the lobby, and he said he would train me
Okay.
if I wanted, but he didn't mention you.
What does that mean? Why would he say that?
So is Goku in this game?
Big time. All right,
Cool.
moving on. Dark Souls on Switch. You've been playing a little bit, right, Kyle?
Yeah, yeah.
Quick impressions. People just want to know: is it going to run like shit on the Switch?
It runs well. I kind of beelined to Blighttown because that's the big test area.
Yeah.
And it was good. It was fine. It wasn't really, the frame rate wasn't stuttering.
It is 30 frames, right? Like
it is 30
it's not
frames.
60.
Yeah, so it's not as good as like if you're playing it on PC or
Right.
actually it was PS4. Was it 60?
PS4 is like 60.
Yeah. Okay. So but it's fine at 30. It works well. There's one little thing I like that because the power button is on the top of the Switch. It essentially is Dark Souls with a pause button now because it's so easy. It's so quick to put it into sleep mode and wake it back up, which is nice. Like you still get
that's weird.
It still messes you up if you're playing online. But if you're just
Right.
playing offline, like Dark Souls has a pause button basically, which is a weird thing
Back
to
in
be
the box
excited about,
feature,
but
yeah.
it's nice.
That's cool. When's
but
it
it's good.
coming out?
Tomorrow.
Holy God! Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I played Dark Souls 2 and 3. This is my first time playing 1, and it's good. I'm glad I have it on Switch. And
That's
I'm enjoying
awesome. Shay, how's work going for you lately? Really? What's up?
That's fine.
Is there anything you're proud of you want to plug before you get the hell out of here?
No.
Nothing you're proud of. What was the last thing you wrote for Game Informer that you're proud of?
I wrote a story about Pokemon Go.
A news story?
Yes.
Are you proud
Well, I
of
did
it?
update our Pokemon Go guide. If you're just getting into Pokemon Go, you can go to our website.
It's a very good guide.
It's a very long.
and it is a
very-
comprehensive
yeah.
guide. Gen 4 just hit, so
Does it say open the app and tap on it and don't make eye contact with your friends?
That's step 1. Hey, don't hit me on the shoulder.
should I just clap out now?
As though he agrees with
yeah.
you.
Anyways,
Three
all right.
Pokemon Go fans right here.
I know, that's fantastic. Gen 4, huge deal. Okay, Serial and Shay, do you guys want to clap out?
Yeah.
Bye. Hey, hot damn, we got Matt Miller
Hi.
Yay.
and Jeff Cork.
Hi again.
Just insisting on saying hey. Gosh, this is where the podcast gets fun. It started with guns and blam blam, then it got into punching, blam blam, and now it's the kid zone.
Shooting and
Blam,
breaking
blam.
stuff.
Yeah, breaking boxes, getting studs.
Being a villain.
Sounds like college. Here we go, folks. So starting out, let's talk about Starlink, Battle for
Okay.
Atlas.
Yep.
Out this week from the team that brought you Splinter Cell, the team that chose to make Starlink over a new Splinter Cell.
I'm sure it was their decision, right?
Yep,
They're like,
100%.
I had no idea. That's funny.
Starlink, this is the game that's for everything, but people might be most focused on the Switch version because of the Star Fox characters in there, but it's
Yeah.
Toys for Life.
Toys for life.
with spaceships.
Yeah.
Toys
Toys
for
for
life.
life.
Toys for life.
Toys for Tots and Life.
Toys for tots to life.
Good
for fun.
God. Miller,
Yeah.
the core of this game. Forget the rinky-dink toys where you attach an R-Wing on your controller and make little putt-putt sounds like you're driving a motorcycle as a mouse. How about the game itself? How is that?
It's better than I thought it was going to be.
Really? And
Yeah, it's
to what
pretty-
extent?
It's pretty fun. It's like a big open world exploration thing. You've got this whole solar system you're flying around in.
Yeah.
You have space battles. You go after some like outlaw hideouts out in space, like space stations that you got to go find and take out the bad guys. But you're also going down onto planets and exploring them, and you're scanning animal life on the planets, and you're collecting resources to upgrade outposts that are down there on the ground and make allies and. And through this all, there's this storyline that's woven through the experience of this campaign about a ragtag group of pilots
Jeff Cork's wincing harder and harder.
who are out here fighting on the fringes of space and trying to learn about the origins of their alien companion who landed on Earth and doesn't have any memory, and they get embroiled in this big intergalactic war thing.
Huh. Is the easy pitch for this game that it's just Ubisoft's open world formula applied through a child's lens in some way for a solar system?
I wouldn't say that it plays a lot like the traditional open world Ubisoft games. It's you're always inside your starship and you're flying around in there. I would say the thing that is most intriguing about it for me, and where there's greater depth than I expected there to be, is in the modding system. You can kind of see that like the ships themselves come apart.
Yeah.
You can take off the wings. You can take off the weapons. This can be done digitally, and it can also be done like physically.
Okay.
So you can buy the game without messing with the toys at all.
Oh, really? That's
yeah,
nice.
you can. You can get a $60 version that includes a suitable selection of ships and weapons and pilots, or you can pay $80 and get everything. You can also then buy the starter kit of the physical stuff for $75.
Yeah.
Which comes with, depends on which platform you're buying on, but generally you get a ship and a pilot and some weapons. On the Switch version, you get the R-Wing and Star Fox, as well as the main character of the storyline.
I think I saw a Kotaku article that said something along the lines of like, hey, this Star Fox thing in Starlink is bigger than you think.
It's way bigger than you think. It's like...
Is it just a new Star Fox game, essentially?
Well, it's like a new Star Fox game that is integrated into the Starlink thing. There's a whole little mini campaign with Star Fox and his buddies.
All voiced.
All fully voiced and integrated into the story. It's kind of wild. It's as an exclusive, it's one of the biggest exclusive like differentiators I've ever seen.
That's interesting.
You've got a whole little new set of missions with Star Fox. You've got the ship.
Yeah.
You've got the Star Fox pilot. You've got, and then you've got Star Fox and his buddies, the whole team. They're coming to Atlas to hunt down Wolf, and they like. Are fully wrapped up in the storyline. So in the very first intro mission, where if you were playing on PlayStation or Xbox, it would just be like, okay, you're pilots, and they go down onto the planet, and they get into a fight with some bad guys. During that scene, seamlessly integrated, you have this whole thing with Star Fox and his team show up, and they're like, hey, looks like they need some help. We better go kind of help them out. And then they start talking to your main character. And in cinematic sequences, they're actually there. They're like on the bridge of your like main ship.
Is it jokey? Is it silly? Are they like, oh, I missed the Lilac system?
It's only as jokey as Star Fox always is. I mean, like those characters.
He's been a joke for a while.
I'll preface this by saying I like Star Fox, but those characters are as stupid as they always are. Right? Like, I mean, they're just being like, you know.
Falco's mad, Slippy's dumb.
Yes, they're doing that the shtick, but it's totally fine. And
the shtick,
yeah,
like they're the Muppets, and they're putting on their show.
I mean,
here we go.
They were literally puppets.
I know, they literally were. I know.
So
Say the barrel roll thing.
so here's the thing. Yes, this is a kid-targeted game, right? Like it's a Toys to Life game. I think a young like 12-year-old version of me would have been really crazy for this game. But I do actually think that there's some depth here that adult gamers could get into. The storytelling is at a kind of like 80s cartoon shenanigans kind of level.
Right.
So there's some dumb jokes and that kind of stuff. And you do have to deal with some weirdness around all the pricing structures and the idea that like, well, if you're going with the physical version, then getting more ships makes it so that you effectively have more lives and that kind of thing. And so maybe that rubs you the wrong way. But like the combat is has some fun to it, right? Like it's pretty simple stuff. It's a lot of like strafe shooting. But you can do combos between like, okay, I've got a flame weapon and I've got a ice weapon, so I'm going to freeze them first. I'm going to blast them and make them explode and shatter. I'm going to do interesting things with how I improve my pilots by using each pilot with each ship. That's how you level them. And so as each pilot becomes more familiar with a variety of ships, they get better and have more abilities.
Okay.
You upgrade your mothership with new capabilities. It's a big game.
Bigger than you think.
It is bigger than you think, and has more options for play than you would think. But it is still, you know, this is not going to be the space combat game that you've been, you know, if you played Wing Commander in the 80s, that you're like, oh, finally, Starlink. Like, it's not that. It's very, very straightforward, simple, like point and shoot kind of space combat. Also kind of ground combat where you're kind of more like a hovercraft down on the planets.
Yeah, I think there's going to be that audience for this podcast that they're big Star Fox fans. I think they're out there. Every once in a while it bubbles up. Kyle, you're kind of one of them. That are like, should I buy this game just as a Star Fox fan on Switch because I'll get some Star Fox jollies out of it? Is it worth that entry point?
I think for a lot of people it would be.
Yeah.
I mean, a traditional Star Fox game, it's easy to forget, is, you know, just a playthrough of one of those games takes what? A couple hours?
Right.
If even that.
Yeah. So like this is a way bigger game than a couple hours. And if you get your kicks from seeing Star Fox and his buddies fly around space, this has that.
Yeah. I mean, Cork, you've spent, judging from the copy on your desk, you've spent like 3 years with that Grippy Toad bonus disc thing from Star Fox on the
uncle
Wii.
and his junkyard shenanigans.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's where I get my jolly.
Also, real quick, I just want to reference or something that you called out in our new gameplay today video of it is like moving around the solar system and between the planets has a very No Man's Sky feel to it.
Oh, it's like the warping thing?
Yeah, and which
Well,
is
you leave orbit.
Yeah.
from
You
the
can do
planets
that anytime you want?
seamlessly.
Yeah.
No
Done.
loading screen.
Done.
yeah,
great.
and that's awesome. And then and the fact that Star Fox is integrated like fully into the game, like that's what I wanted from Zero. Was
Yeah.
like I wanted a big universe that I could explore in an R-wing, and
Yeah.
that's what this is. It's
I
a
mean-
big open universe where you can go down to planets and leave. And
I
all
heard
kinds of
open
stuff.
solar system, but yeah.
Open solar system.
Here's the funny thing about this game is that like, you know how they could have made this game like sell a lot of units? They could have called it Star Fox. like this is
they were halfway there. They got the star.
this like
We're out
had
of
they had like,
ideas.
hey, Star Fox and his team have a new awesome link technology that lets them trade out weapons and basically did what Skylanders did.
Yeah.
Right? And like there's a lot of kids who didn't even like think about the old Spyro games as it relates
Totally.
to Skylanders,
Yeah.
right? They could have done that here and used Star Fox as the vehicle and had a cooperative venture between Nintendo and Ubisoft that
don't think
was
that-
more robust.
I don't think Nintendo wants to get in that Toys to Life thing. They
That-
know that that fad's over.
That very well may be.
Is that a joke, Cork?
But
Maybe.
like
Well, maybe
I guess
they
it
got,
would have had to be a Switch exclusive. at
it
that
would have had
point.
to be a Switch
Yeah.
exclusive.
and maybe they're trying to
so-
get the best of both worlds by being on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. And like, look, we called it Starlink. It's still
Yes.
like a Nintendo character, everybody.
And really, seriously, there's a lot of Star Fox stuff in
Okay.
here.
That's great.
So if you're gonna play and you have an option, you got to play on Switch.
Interesting. Is your review on the site?
Not yet. We got review code very late for this game.
Sure.
And the toys very late. So we're still working on it. But there is the new gameplay today that people want to kind of see a little bit more of it. That's on the site now.
But you're feeling pretty positive, but not a knockout. Is that the range we're dealing
I
with
think
here?
that is right. This is not going to change your world, but it is. I went in with the expectation of this being one of those games that was just going to make me cringe for
Right.
hours of play.
Right,
And I
right.
don't think it is that.
Oh, good. That's great. Jeff Cork.
Hi.
Out of nowhere. Nowhere.
Hello.
Oh, I'm warping in my tongue. Out of nowhere, you posted a review on the site for Lego DC Supervillains.
Well, it did come from nowhere. I mean, I played
From
the
my
game.
perspective, certainly. And I clicked on it and said, let's see how old Corky's doing with his Lego games. 8.5?
It's freaking great.
Really?
Yeah, it's like one of the best Lego games they've ever made.
Really? Like your
Ever.
favorite Lego
Yes.
game since what? Lego Marvel?
Since Lego Marvel 1, probably, yeah.
Lego Marvel 1. That's big for you, man. You're a huge
Yeah,
Lego
I love
guy.
Lego Marvel 1.
I played this a little bit at E3. You're dealing with the big baddies, and you can create your own big baddie.
yeah.
And if you're Joker, you can like recruit other big baddies. What's the most appealing thing about it?
It's very distracting, Miller.
Miller's making
You were doing
ugly
this
Starlink
through
toys.
my whole bit.
No, that was different.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to talk.
All right, I'll go.
I was being respectful. There's a lot of really great stuff about it. I think it is definitely, we talk ad nauseum about the formula that TT Games has kind of arrived at with
Yes.
the Lego games. This is certainly not like dumping it all out and starting from scratch, you know what I mean? But I think it is a really nice refinement of the systems that Lego games have had in the past. And it kind of, a lot of elements they feel like this is where things should have been a while ago. And it's very satisfying. Like first, it's the character creator is integrated into the campaign. So very early on into the game, you design your own character you see him in cutscenes or her or it, depending on what you want to do. And they get more powerful throughout the storyline. And the story is super funny and really good. It's objectively the best story that I think I've ever experienced in any medium.
Wow. That sentence started off
Period.
one way and
Yeah.
ended another way.
Yeah. So you can just get the hell out of here, leftovers. You're done. You got Lego DC Supervillains.
What's the best part of the story? What's the silliest thing they do?
The silliest thing they do. I think the kind of the central conceit though is like the Justice League is warped away, and they're replaced by the the Justice Syndicate from Earth 3, and they're clearly villains, but they're like presenting themselves as good guys. So like Earth's villains are like, wait a second, you can't trash Earth. That's what we do. So they're like the the villains, like the Joker and everyone, are like assembling all the villains and they don't get along. I mean, it's very silly and stupid, but it's really, really, really fun.
Oh, good. Does am I nuts? I saw Mark Hamill tweet about it. Does he voice the Joker in this?
Yeah, of course.
Does he really?
Yeah.
Because before, haven't they had Troy Baker be the Lego Joker?
They have.
Troy Baker was Batman.
Yeah, you're right. He was Batman, but he was Joker in Arkham Origins. It's so confusing. The Troy Baker
you're right,
DC line. Okay, that's crazy. They got Hamill.
Yeah, he does a great job. So I just imagine him going, woo, ha. All the little, like, just going, do I have to do this, or is it like an understudy? He's like, I'll just say the words, but I'm not doing all your grunts.
Ooh, studs.
Yeah,
That's a pretty good Hamill Joker.
Thank you, Miller. Can you do a Hamill Joker?
No.
interesting.
That was dead on.
It's exciting, and it's out now.
Yeah, it's out now.
Lego DC Supervillains. That's very exciting.
Super fun. If it's one of the, if you were like, I would say most reasonable people disappointed with Lego Marvel Superheroes 2.
Yeah,
that
even
came out
Lego
last
Batman
year.
3 wasn't exceptional.
Yeah, this is really nice. I think.
Did you say Lego Marvel Batman?
Yeah, Lego Marvel's Batman.
Okay, let's move on.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
It's really fun. That's great to hear. That's fantastic. Hey, do you guys want to move on to emails?
I want nothing
We got to
more.
get this show on the road here.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Moving on to emails.
Just
Bye,
write
everybody.
it straight away.
Welcome back to the Game Informer Show. We're here for some emails. Everybody's in town. Everyone's having a good time. We got Jeff Cork looking horrified. We have Brian Shea putting on headphones. We have Kyle Hilliard.
You really want to move this along? Do you have a flight?
Jay
or
was
something
telling me
later?
an actually interesting story for once, and you totally ruined it.
Finish it off air, buddies. People wrote into podcast at GameInformer.com with their wonderful thoughts, concerns, dares, feedback, games, questions, words of wisdom, anything that
makes the show good.
Kyle.
Better.
There we go.
Hey.
Anything that makes the show better. Podcast at GameInformer.com. We're going to choose some of our favorites and choose our absolute number one favorite for email of the week. That person is honored with a pin on the map, and they're officially recognizing God's country, where they're from. Jeff Cork. Wow. Love it. Jeff Cork, you know what I like to see?
What do you like to see, my friend?
Nice comments on YouTube, because I read everyone.
Nice comments.
And it's so funny that people that like, maybe they've never watched Game Informer stuff or haven't tuned in for years, and then they see you and they say, Jesus Christ, that beard! It's like people are shocked.
Tangled mass of intimacy repellent.
Yeah. And say during Extra Life, we wanted to like auction off haircuts. Is there
Yeah.
any chance that beard's on the table?
Like literally on the table? I don't know.
Yeah, and then I'm going to have an axe.
Oh, my
We're going to have
Lord.
a guillotine.
I don't know.
Okay, still determining it.
Yeah, I'm still
Okay,
thinking about it.
That's fine.
Yeah.
First email, everybody. Oh, Brian Shea.
What?
You said your hair was on the table
Potentially, yeah.
for Extra Life?
Maybe.
it's turned into a
Who knows?
potentially.
$2,000 donation to charity. You can do whatever you want to Brian Shea's head.
Could I cut my beard off? He shaves his head. We glue my beard on his head.
100%. If you're down for that,
I think
is
that might
the-
be a little extra.
No.
When it
I'm
involves
afraid
other
not.
people's hair.
Dude, that is so good. We could just like cover it in honey like we had last year.
gosh.
And just
Fire
have like
ants.
a Jeff Cork beard comb over for Brian Shea's head. Oh,
Something about other people's hair
is arousing.
creeps me out.
So good. I love it.
Like when you and Ben Reeves put like your
We
heads
interlocked our
together,
hair,
that
yeah.
kind of made me sick.
It was weird that I started to think Ben Reeves' thoughts at that point. I didn't really understand what was happening.
Yeah.
First email from Adam Smith. He said, hey, with the reports of huge amounts of crunch from Rockstar with Red Dead Redemption 2, this is from the Vulture story, just went live. We've been having the discussion in the Overblood group, the Game Informer fan group on Facebook, about whether or not reports similar as these should be factored into reviews. We'd love to get your opinions.
Interesting. I don't know if they should be factored into.
Yeah, I don't think
reviews.
so.
I mean, the content should speak
Yeah.
for itself.
Jeff Cork, you're very big on like, can people buy it? Are they going to have a good time playing it? Like, keep it simple, stupids.
I don't know if I'd say that. I
Well,
mean,
you
if
don't
they were
really
like,
shout.
oh yeah, this game was only made possible because we had to melt a bunch of human children down and use it as fuel for this like computer engine we just invented. At that point, you'd be like, okay, ethically, there's some issues we need to hash out before we.
That's
give
the
it a
line, though.
7.5.
Anything before
Well, they did
that.
the equivalent of that with human relationships and human contact.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't know if people aren't shackled to their desks. I don't know. It's a very complicated issue. I think
is.
that there's so many complicated issues with that. At the end of the day, it's like if you want to review their workforce and their working conditions,
Right.
keep that separate from the
And
game.
you need to have the whole picture too. It can't just be like, oh, we heard that this guy said they did 100-hour weeks.
Yeah.
Right. The thing, I'm sure, I mean, look at Rockstar's games. We've heard enough stories anecdotally of oh my God, people work their asses off over there. It is, crunch is bad in the industry at Rockstar. It is definitely a big factor. But I do think if people read that story, like it's interesting that Hauser's saying specifically for like writing the script that like that small writing team is working 100-hour days. I'm sure other people are also working plenty of 100-hour weeks.
Yeah.
I'm sure other people are working 100-hour weeks, but like blowing it out saying like everyone here is working 100-hour weeks. It's not exactly what he said, even though I'm
Right.
sure that is the case.
Yeah, and I wonder, like, if that is a consideration, like, if somehow that, in your opinion, makes that game score lower in your own mind because you know the environment in which it was developed.
Yeah.
And it is as good as we expect it's going to be.
Right.
Does a mediocre or bad game that lets the studio, like, they give people Fridays off, does that elevate that game?
Right.
Because you're like, oh, the working conditions are very good, so I'm willing
Right.
to overlook the fact that it's
right.
garbage.
At the same time, I think we're on the same page that crunch is a crazy problem with the game industry.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it is. It's a complicated issue that they need to figure out. People need to be able to like live their lives normally
Right,
while still
right.
making these games. But there's also that they have that passion, and you know, it's complicated for
I
sure.
think as Keenan Thompson once said, fix it. Thank you, Adam Smith, for rating in. Justin S. from Fisk, Missouri says, I have a bold prediction for the crew to ponder. A small game/demo will be released onto the PlayStation Store in the following months. It'll be called something weird like PP, aka Playable Prequel. Well, it won't be directly stated what this game is. It'll be full of obscure signs and hints to its true essence. Hints that will be solved in less than 24 hours and reveal its demo prequel to Death Stranding. With both PT and Ground Zeroes, I think this is likely. What do you guys think?
no.
Kojima isn't going to repeat PT exactly.
Yeah. Also, I think they're busy making Death Stranding.
I don't think they were busy making those other games.
Yeah.
Well, what was he working on when PT came out? Metal Gear Solid 5 had released
Silent
at that point,
Hills.
right?
Well,
Was he starting
I don't think.
work
I think
on
they're
that?
Was he
still
between projects
I
at
think
that
they were
point?
crunching still on 5
Were they?
when PT
Okay.
was released. Yeah,
All
I
right.
think that's how roughly that window works. But clearly, he likes the playable teaser aspect. You know, Ground Zeroes. You never really know what that was. If it was like a financial move from Konami saying release this for $40 on its own, which is still crazy
I
to look
forgot
back.
that was $40.
Yeah.
I think the internet had some thoughts on that. Yeah.
Holy hell.
I mean, ignoring the price, which you shouldn't ignore, but like ignoring the price, I did like that sort of early peek at what Metal Gear Solid 5 was going to be. You know what I mean? Like I liked the idea of it. Like Dead Rising did that too, which I like. I would like just like a nice hour demo of Death Stranding. But I don't think it would be delivered in a surprise. Oh, by the way, you didn't know this was you're playing
Right.
Death Stranding. You are. You know.
And honestly, I could see it. Well, I hate to say it. Maybe the most likely scenario is just here's a little playable teaser demo thing that's in PSVR because Kojima wants to experiment with VR. Here we
Yeah.
go. PlayStation exclusive. Like,
yeah,
get it
just
out
to
there.
See that.
Yeah.
yeah. I love that idea. I would like Kojima to be more inventive than just doing PT again. But
Yeah.
remember how much fun that was? It was
That
like
was cool.
during just like
That day,
buried in
yeah.
the middle of that press conference. Like, there's this thing called PT. It's on the store, and it's like, I remember I wrote it down. Like, maybe we'll do a video on that. Who knows? Some scary game, whatever
Yeah.
it is.
I still have it on my PS4.
Do you really?
When I migrated to my PS4 Pro last month, I made sure it copied over.
But it was I remember the Twitch stream. That was because it was just this random woman, right? Who just like kind
Yeah.
of randomly wasn't even
Supposedly.
actively trying to solve the puzzle, but like was able to share that. It's like, oh my god, this is a Silent Hills t-shirt.
She just happened to be whispering Michael into her
Or
controller.
something.
Or
I
whatever.
don't remember what it was.
forget what it
But it was
was.
cool. I remember when that was a very cool reveal for sure.
Yeah, that's so much
Yeah.
fun. All hail Kojima, right, guys?
Yeah.
Cork, you hailing Kojima?
Yeah, he's the guy who makes games.
Come on, you old timer. Give it up.
You liked 5?
Yeah, I love 5.
Okay.
5 as well.
Interesting developer, though, right? One of the most interesting. Would you agree?
Yeah. My eyes don't turn into hearts like some people.
Why?
When I think about him.
That's your fault, dude. Hey, Ben and the other GI peeps at the table. I'm Kalel.
Do you read these ahead of time?
Yeah, but it's interesting where this goes. His name is Kalel, not Kal-El, but I'm Kalel writing in from Albany, New York, and my question is, can you repeat my name 1,000 times? It's Kal-El. No. Given the success of Batman and Spider-Man, what well-known character do you think will be the star of the next big superhero game?
Let's back up. Does his name have a hyphen in it?
No, it doesn't. That's the weird part.
Oh, okay.
But here's what he says after that.
Yeah.
He says, despite his dodgy video game past, my money's on Superman. In a city-based
This is
3D
definitely Kal-El.
It's spelled with an O, Kal-El.
This
I
is
think it's a
Kal-El.
coincidence that
This
his
is
name
actually
is Kal-El.
Superman saying that he's been licensed for a video game.
Oh my God! Wait,
DC supervillains does not count, in
I'm
his opinion.
confused. In a city-based 3D action game similar to those mentioned. I could see an origin story with Superman where you play as a younger Clark Kent, slowly discovering and improving his powers in the face of escalating threats to Smallville. I think about this more and more because it seems like people are hinting strongly that Rocksteady is working on another superhero game. I was hoping it was a brand new IP, but I know like Jason Schreier from Kotaku is like, I'm hearing superhero.
Yeah.
And so it's like, what in the world could make you super excited about a Superman game from Rocksteady? If that's what they are working on, who knows if it is Superman? But the idea of like Smallville slowly learning your powers as Superman.
Leaping instead of flying is very exciting.
And that also is a way to limit you, right? Because he still wouldn't be completely...
Yeah.
In Smallville. Was he immortal in Smallville?
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean,
He's always immortal?
pretty much.
Yeah, unless there's a green glowing rock around.
Yeah.
So he just like never scraped his knees and stuff when he was a kid? I thought all his powers came online when he was like in school.
He
and
was
stuff.
always super strong. I mean, Smallville's about him concealing his abilities and making sure that he doesn't let people know that he's
Trying to live his life, man.
I guess
he
I'm
doesn't.
talking-
I don't think he's even flying through the air until like the third or fourth season. Like, and even that's just jumping.
Well, that's what I want. I want like
Yeah,
Goten from Dragon Ball learning his powers.
I don't want to fly. I want to leap over buildings in a super.
Yes.
Maybe
Yeah.
post game you can fly.
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
And then he flies at the camera and they play Wake Up. I think is the only way that could possibly
The
go.
Matrix.
Yeah. Are there other superheroes you guys want more than Superman?
Well, I think Superman would be cool, but I think Iron Man's the most potential. Like, you know,
I would love that.
Profitable, like that. I would see that being the next big superhero. I don't think Rocksteady's making that game, but I think that Iron Man will be the next superhero game that we get.
Didn't
excited
Sega try
about.
that?
They did.
They did.
Yeah,
It
it was
wasn't
a
that long ago.
tie-in.
What was
Yeah.
it? Was Iron Man 2 the one that was okay and the rest were kind of garbage? I don't know.
Opposite of the movies.
But I think Iron Man would be awesome. I'd love to see more Marvel things like kind of fold into this Spider-Man universe that they've started.
Which did you did you listen, Kyle, to that Spider-Man interview from last week?
I did.
What did you think of the response to that part in particular about talking about the shared gaming?
It's a very
universe?
political answer of just then, like what you hear all the time is like, oh, we're focused, on making this a good game, which is like you see here for every Marvel movie, you're like, we're focused on making Ant-Man and the Wasp a great movie.
But I know I talked about it in the interview, but still, I thought it was ruled out at this point. But the fact that like you'd have to ask Marvel, we don't know what their plans are. It's like the fact that that's still a possibility could be so cool.
They hint at such a huge universe in Spider-Man.
Right.
Like, I mean, what are all the characters that they talk about? Doctor Strange reference, Black Panther, Jessica Jones.
I mean, he says the Avengers, like
Defenders. Yeah, they get everything in
He
there.
does talk about,
Yeah. Jeff Cork, would you be into that gaming universe? Like, isn't it fun to like cross company boundaries and publisher boundaries? And Marvel could be a company that could do it.
Yeah, that'd be super fun.
That'd be fun. Thank you. Jack Hankins.
Oh, real quick, by the way, if you Google for Game Informer, there was a panel at PAX about Superman video games, and Cory Barlog pitched
That's right.
his idea for a Superman game, which you can.
What was it again? It was very, very some other game. I forget what it was.
Well, he joked that it would be about Superman raising Superboy initially as just like a God of War reference. But it was weird and abstract and about Superman hearing everyone requesting his help and how he dealt with the sort of anxiety of dealing with everybody needing something from Superman and him trying to figure
So it was just that original TV ad for Mass Effect.
Yeah. And then I think the finish line was that, like, and I think it was just a joke. It's kind of hard to tell with Barlog, but it was like that eventually Superman would run for president because that would be the only way he could truly help everybody.
That'd be so much
But anyway,
fun.
it's you could find that on the site. It's interesting.
Honestly,
campaign
if
speeches.
Rocksteady was like, "This is Superman's challenge," it's just a political sim, and it's just the President Superman
him,
storyline.
and him going against Lex Luthor. Like Lex Luthor's going for his second term, and
No, Bernie Sanders.
It's just like the sitting on the throne parts from Fable 3.
Yeah,
People
the
come
best
in and
parts
give
of
their-
Fable 3.
right.
Here's my problem.
Oh boy.
outta here.
Jack Hankins writes in and says, "What the heck was that Spider-Man song?" This was at the end of our game club. That is one of the greatest songs ever made. A Freak Like Me Needs Company from the Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark musical.
Oh, boy.
I recommend looking it up on David Letterman because the performance is unreal.
It's funny because that's almost the exact message I sent you. It was like, what was that?
Didn't you two make that?
Yes, I did.
Bono wrote the musical, I think.
Terrific.
Wrote. And if you watch the 60 Minutes
Was
special
present.
on it, it's very funny because Bono's like, he's like watching the performers sing where it's like, I'm picking up Mary Jane, or whatever the song is. Yeah. And then Bono just repeatedly is like, hey, let me do it. And he just goes up and then like belts it up. I'm picking up. And it's just like, he takes over the mic so many times. It's like, you're not going to be singing this every day, Bono. Sit the hell down.
My favorite thing to look up related to that musical is the errors where Spider-Man's rigging didn't work, and you can just see him fall out of the spotlight, and the audience. And there's
Didn't
a moment
multiple
of
people get hurt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a problem.
It's hilarious.
Weird sadist Cal.
Yeah, I have some WWE foottage you'll really enjoy.
Great.
Dylan Smith writes in, hey, listening to Game Scoop and hearing them talk, this is IGN, and hearing them talk about the July 1998 issue of EGM magazine reminded me that, wait, you guys have a long-running magazine too. And it might be cool to have a section on your podcast in which you look back on an issue and look at the top stories and events that were happening in the past. Why don't you do that?
Mom threw them all
Why
out.
don't we?
I would love to. I think that's fun. I would love to dive more into the past. We have a thing of like, don't focus too much on the past. Let's stay current. That's what people are interested in. Don't want to get too navel-gazy. Plus, it's like, I think some of those writers in the old magazine aren't here anymore. And it's like, it's kind of weird reading their work from the mid-'90s that might not be the best. Like, there's weird stuff around it, but I'd love to do more of that stuff.
It's nice. The nice thing about magazines is it gives you a snapshot of that month of that year, and it's nice to kind of be like, oh man, we were really excited about this for some reason.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. David Blessman from Oklahoma City says, Dear Ben and crew, what are your thoughts / early impressions of Jon Favreau's The Mandalorian? Speaking of Iron Man. So this is the new Star Wars show coming to Disney's streaming conglomerate that's coming soon. They've released one image and also a brief description. So it takes place after Return of the Jedi, and it stars a Mandalorian on the outskirts of the galaxy.
God, please make that universe feel even smaller.
It's not.
Whatever you do.
I mean, for sure.
Everybody, lots of cameos.
Dude, they're going to end season 1 with Boba Fett showing up and being like, I'm wearing your armor.
But he's dead, though, at that point.
I was not eaten.
They've said it's like Schrodinger's cat, like that he's neither dead nor alive. Lucas considered him alive, apparently.
I would love it if they did something with Boba Fett, just because I think that is the most overrated character in history because of how little he did in the movies. But I want reasons to like him. He's a cool character.
Well, I also
design.
I like the idea too of if he does appear in this show, of him just like being a side character. Like, I don't know how well it would work as a star of the show, but him just showing up as a big villain. Or whatever he is for the Mandalorian race, because I didn't quite understand all the politics around this, but I listened to this podcast, I think it was the / Filmcast, and they have this guy named Brian Youngs who does the Full of Sith podcast. He's the smartest Star Wars nerd I've ever heard in my life. Stunning. And he just laid out exactly like why this setting is interesting and what Mandalorian lore means and all this stuff. And he compared it to like Mandalorians, they're big on like passing down their armor from generation to generation. It's a very like family-focused, hierarchy-focused society. And so that idea is going to lead to a lot of like Game of Thrones style politics. Yes, Jeff Cork.
Is it still like that, or that's all gone because the expanded universe doesn't matter? So
I think it's still like that because of like the hints of it in Rebels and especially during Clone Wars, which is still canon and stuff.
Okay.
But that idea that like the Mandalorians probably have a weird perspective on Boba Fett just because he's not a Mandalorian, but at some point he stole like their badass armor, which is like super coveted. So if he does come in, I'd imagine he'd be like a villain. I have
Stolen
a lot of thoughts on
valor
this.
in space.
But I don't know if you saw this fun Easter egg. Jon Favreau posted on Instagram, I think, like the full shot of the Mandalorian's weapon. And a lot of people were like, why does it look familiar? They went back. It is Boba Fett's gun from the Christmas special. Like that gross animated Boba Fett. They just made a real life version of that gun, and then that's what the main character has.
That's funny.
Jeff Cork, will you give it up and smile every once in a while over there?
I don't know. I guess I'm just getting old. Star Wars doesn't do it for me. The
Really?
Same way.
Did you ever see Solo?
No.
That's shocking.
I like Solo.
I'm going to watch it tonight. Favreau's the first time.
I'm excited that Favreau is directing anything Star Wars. I like Favreau generally, and also Waititi is involved as well, right?
He's going to direct one as well.
That's very exciting. I'm more excited about that.
This is the director of Thor Ragnarok.
He's good.
Nerd stuff. All right, Jeff Cork, here's a question for you. Directly to you, right into the ear
What's
holes.
your favorite Star Wars character?
Return of the Jedi, and it's got to be.
I said character.
Let me get to it, you idiot. That one torture droid who's burning.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that little
robots.
that little baby Jabba the Hutt.
Andy from Mount Prospect, Illinois says, hello, Ben and crew, but specifically Jeff Cork. An interesting thought today and was curious what your thoughts would be. If you could Groundhog Day yourself, but get to pick the day and how long, what would you pick? I would go back to Christmas when I was a kid, for sure. I like the question of how long.
And for how long? Oh,
because as we are obsessed with, and you inform me, the writer behind Groundhog Day, I think Harold Ramis at some point in interviews talked about the lore of Groundhog Day. And he's like, oh no, it was like 10,000 years, you guys. Like it was effed up. Like this isn't a quick jaunt like it looks like in the movie. Yeah. How long would you like to go?
Oh boy. Could I just? Do you retain all your memories and everything?
It's Groundhog Day, baby. Yeah.
Okay. So if I would first day of kindergarten, and
Yeah.
then the duration would be my natural lifespan. Could I do that?
Yeah.
Just relive kindergarten over and over?
Just
No,
the first
but-
day.
Just the first day?
No. I would like
understand.
to the first day of kindergarten, but then continue through the rest of my life up to beyond the point where I'm at right now. I would
don't
like
get
to
it.
start completely over. Is what I'm
No,
trying
but
to
you're not
say.
continuing. Groundhog
to
Day,
start
it
the-
loops, dude.
Yeah, the loop.
Yeah,
okay,
but-
the loop we'll say is 70 years.
No. I think it's always one day, but you have to choose how long you
One
stay
day.
stuck in that day. Do you know what I mean?
This guy immediately regrets asking me this question. It's this guy's even dumber than I
Because it's like,
thought.
how long would it take for you to understand everything around you? I would
Okay,
go for
for
like
one day, okay.
I would
I
choose
would
any
like to
random day. It
apologize.
really doesn't matter because I'm not going to relive my life. I'm going to go out on an expedition because my life ain't great.
You wouldn't
And-
want to do it on a day you were on vacation or something, though. You'd want to be in your home base to a certain degree,
I
correct?
think so, or someplace where you were flying, maybe, so you could choose to go any place and just have that looped. So I would go for
So you'd spend your day on a plane?
well,
That
to
would
get
be-
to a location so I could see what's going on there, just to make the most of it.
Well, if we're going Groundhog Day's rules, you can't leave the main location.
Oh.
because there's a blizzard.
Yeah. It's
So okay, there's a firestorm from Battlefield 5 surrounding
Okay.
you. Okay, surrounding the town. I would go for 3 months. I feel like I could do everything I want to do in 3 months.
Yeah. No responsibilities.
Right.
3 months seems like a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now's the question though of why aren't we living our lives right now like it's Groundhog Day?
We have responsibilities.
Like with no consequences? Is that what you mean by living it like it's
Yes.
Groundhog Day? Like,
why aren't you trying to kiss that one lady and pretend you went to high school
Or
with her?
kill yourself over and over.
Why not? No. We don't condone either on this podcast. Anyways, Jamie writes in, "Hey GI Crew, Jamie from Gold Coast, Australia here. Woo woo. So I've waited for months for people to talk about the idea of Joy-Con Plus, or better yet, Pro-Con for the Switch. Pro-Con, that's good.
Pro-Con.
To offer a bigger and more comfortable game control for both handheld mode or docked. Unless you have tiny hands, this is a relatively uncomfortable setup to play on for any length of time, and seems so obvious to put up the different controller options. Like imagine a Pro controller you can split in half and use on either side of the Switch. What seemingly obvious thing, hardware or system features that just never eventuated into your gaming experience? Yeah, I think the core of this is more interesting, is where are the funky Joy-Cons?
yeah, what's the GameCube one for Smash?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Just a GameCube controller that can split in two.
And they did the NES ones, obviously, to go along with Nintendo Switch Online, which you can only use in a funky way. But I'm amazed there isn't more. They could make a killing just having so many little custom things, and it's just not happened yet.
It's weird. That was like when they announced the Switch. That was everyone's beeline. Was like, oh, that's cool. You can split the controllers apart. Oh, imagine all the options. You could have a GameCube controller. You could have half a N64 controller for Virtual Console. And yeah, I don't know. I
Also,
wanna
where's
see more of that
Virtual
stuff.
Console?
Well, that's the whole thing. You kind of sort of have it now, Switch Online and stuff. But even with the patent for the, in theory, Game Boy Classic that Nintendo put out, leaked. I don't know how those things get out there. But the idea that it's
Public, I think they're publicly
Yeah,
available.
okay, there we
but
go.
There's
So it's
not
like
a guarantee that it's something they're manufacturing.
right,
you
but
know?
it's like a Game Boy style thing case that you put over your phone. You can play Game Boy games in theory if that's what they do for the Game Boy Classic. But then on the Easy Allies podcast, they're talking about they could just put that collection on Switch. And then I was thinking, if they take Game
Just
Boy
rotate the
controls, especially Game Boy specific Joy-Cons, you can have those big burgundy buttons and have an exact replica of the Game Boy controls. Wouldn't that be awesome?
yeah,
Sure.
They should make those. I don't know why they haven't been because that just seems like the obvious thing to do.
And there's the rumors that they're redesigning the Switch next year, so maybe they'll roll it out with that or something.
Just
but
give us Super Nintendo games and Nintendo 64 games.
wherever will we play those games? Have you guys noticed, especially with that rumor that hey, they're going to release a new Switch next year and all that stuff? I feel like there have been more and more complaints about the Switch of people starting to complain about its battery life is bad and the screen could be better.
Yeah.
Have you noticed? I think there's a bubbling up there of people complaining about their Switch now, which is surprising. Battery life, yes.
Yeah, Kyle's is literally
Mine's
falling
falling
apart.
What? How's that?
Like you could, where the memory card goes in, there's a big crack in the left control stick on my left Joy-Con's all messed up.
Also, your kickstand is missing.
Oh yeah, the kickstand is loose, so I just took it off because otherwise it'll just
Ew.
always So it's time for me to replace it.
Yeah, I get
Cloud
it, man.
saves are here, baby.
I know that was what I was
Future.
waiting for.
Josh from Highland, Indiana says, "Hello, Leo. I'm including the podcast
Oh.
email here in case you don't see this right away. I was listening to the most recent GI Show episode, and I love Every Game is Interesting as a segment. Cool concept. Thing is, it sounded like you had a lot of games to sift through with your random number generator, and it sounded like the way you were pulling a random number and then relaying the game info to the panel was kind of a mess. So he set up this smart Google Sheet algorithm to make our process easier, which is very kind. Not exactly the email we're looking for in terms of, every game is interesting from the community, but that's great. Then we have Jack Kearney from Kansas City, Missouri, writes in and says, Ben put out a call for every game is interesting, so here I am. Now this guy gets it. This guy gets what we're going for. He says, these games are near and dear to my heart for one reason or another, so do them justice. Shrek's Treasure Hunt, Garfield Caught in the Act, Pandemonium, Wild Arms 5, Sonic 2006, Sonic 3D Blast. He just lists a bunch of games that is trying to inspire that every game is interesting, which also exactly wasn't what we were looking for. We were looking for people to write in with hey, I've done a little journalism here. Here's 2 minutes on why Breakdown Fist of Vengeance is interesting.
Do you want me to break down why those 2 Sonic games are interesting?
Sure, take it away.
No, it's okay. I was just...
No, let's do it. Let's do a little test round. Leo in the booth, you want to get some music
Wait,
from...
so we have to do 2 minutes?
Yeah, Sonic 3D Blast specifically. We can type it in here. So Shay, I'll let you stop and think about Sonic 3D Blast. This is a setup for the following segment.
This is me not doing any research, but yeah, I'll do it.
Okay, but you just have to really convince us that Sonic 3D Blast is interesting. Leo, you let me know when you have Sonic 3D Blast music ready to go through the headphones here, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, hang on. He's turning his mic on. Okay, take it away,
boy.
Shay. Here we go. Every game is interesting. Sonic 3D Blast.
So up to this point, Sonic was just a 2D platformer with an occasional pinball spin-off. But with Sonic 3D Blast, not only did you get a different perspective, but you also got better graphics for the time. Now it kind of looks like crap, but you got to see Sonic from an isometric camera running around in a 3D space. It was a cool new concept that failed miserably, and Ben Hansen has fallen asleep on me.
Hansen.
We've lost Ben Hansen. I can just stop there if you want.
Right, Jay, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey.
Sonic 3D Blast.
We're scrapping that segment.
What did you want? Do you just want more like development insight?
No, it's all great. It's all great. We'll find out in the next segment, won't we?
I guess.
Every game's interesting. Coming up soon. Email of the week. What do you guys like?
Groundhog Day.
Really?
Groundhog Day was interesting, yeah.
Wow. All right. I like the PT for
PP?
for Death Stranding. Yeah, I'm sorry, PP.
The Joy-Con, where the hell are they?
Yeah, I like theorizing about what Kojima could be doing to promote Death Stranding, because that's like part of his whole development process. Is like the promotion is part of that cycle.
But Jeff Keighley is just a promotional construct. It's like the longest con.
I mean, kind of.
My real name's Jerry.
He had him interview that guy, right? That's kind of like he does wrap him into all that
Joaquin
stuff.
Mogram, yeah.
Yeah.
There's also Adam Smith writing in about Red Dead 2. Cork, I'll let you choose it, baby.
Oh, no.
Here we go. Email of the week goes to...
Let's do Joy-Cons.
Joy-Cons! Where are all the interesting Joy-Cons? All right.
It's a good question.
That is a wonderful...
Where are they?
Oh, my God. Do you realize what has happened?
What?
Gold Coast, Australia's on the board!
Finally!
Congratulations, Jamie from Australia. Now, Jamie, if you can convince David Milner to write in to podcastagameformer.com for your brethren, we'd appreciate it. I can't wait to put that pin in Australia. It's going to be so sweet. Podcastagameformer.com for emails in the future. Anything that makes the show better.
If you put it on Antarctica, I'm going to lose my mind.
Okay, for now, stay tuned for an interesting segment where we're going to try and convince you that these 4, perhaps 5 games are interesting with something we call Every Game is Interesting. Stay tuned, everybody. And welcome back to the Game Informer Show, and welcome to a funky little segment, the back half of the show where things get freaky. I'm still here. Andrew Rainer's here now.
That's a weird intro for this.
You got it. Ben Reeves is here.
Hello.
Jeff Cork.
Let's get freaky.
And special guest, the Judgment Man himself. Some call him Phoenix Wright if he was a judge. Timothy Turry from Capcom!
Oh my gosh. Hey, good to see you guys.
Oh my gosh.
I may be over in California, but you got this freak on a leash, if you know what I mean.
Yes, sir. Welcome, sir. Thank you. Former co-host of the show, if you're not familiar with Tim. Tim, you just shipped Mega Man 11. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, it's not exactly a living game, but does it feel like you can relax now? Is it like out the door and now you can chill a little bit?
Yeah, it feels good to have it out there. Like this, that people liked it and watching speed runs and stuff like that. It's it is very satisfying to see people kind of like adopting it. I'm excited for it to be. I think it's probably too soon for AGDQ, but like probably by SGDQ, seeing like runs in there, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, game's done quick.
So you're so relaxed that means there's no projects on the horizon? Is that what you're saying? Like no other?
Oh, I'm also working on the Onimusha coming to PS4, Xbox One, and PC and Switch, and then also Ace Attorney trilogy and stuff like that.
Is that your
Exactly
thumb?
what I wanted.
Yeah, his thumb's
Yep.
all over that camera. Tim, so our
got it.
argument
We
on
got
the
your
show,
fingerprint.
we've been arguing for a while that every game is interesting. For exactly 1 week, we've been arguing this aggressively on the Game Informer show.
Yeah. Nobody's
Ben, it's
been
one of my
arguing
favorite, it's one of
against
my
us.
favorite things about you is that you always find the most interesting bits. And
Well, we'll see
Everything.
after this segment, sir.
Yeah.
And again, you didn't want to do it because you're like, this is too shilly, but tell us the most interesting thing you know about Mega Man 11, since you know that game probably better than 99.9% of players.
you want to lead with that?
I do.
If you look at all the Robot Masters in Mega Man 11, they are sort of inspired by the original 6 Robot Masters from Mega Man 1. Like Blast Man is Bomb Man, Impact Man is Guts Man, Torch Man is Fireman, and so on. Like those sort of like archetypal Robot Masters are represented.
Yeah,
I think is kind of a cool fact.
so it's
And
like a
then
Force
also,
Awakens thing.
The double gear system and stuff is really cool, but low key, the biggest like innovation for me was the weapon wheel, just being able to like switch on the fly. But
Yeah.
people, those are just little tidbits, I guess.
Is there an Oil Man parallel then? Because there was 6 in the original.
Well,
as
that's
opposed to
powered
8.
up. I mean, yeah, I guess Block Man would be sort of on the side and Acid Man would be on the side. But
You can't see
Yeah.
him, Tim, but Jeff Quark's eyes are bulging out of his head like a cartoon wolf over there.
Yeah.
He is on
Oh
the
my
edge of his
gosh.
seat.
I love this.
Tim, I hope you're ready to judge your ass off, man.
Careful.
yeah, absolutely.
All right. So
This
Jeff
better
Quark.
be good though. Like I seriously like they better be good.
We wouldn't waste your time, Tim.
Okay, thanks.
So again, if you didn't listen to last week or watch last week's show, we chose from 7,700 games in the Game Informer review archive. We actually upped that list now, so if we do this again, it'll be 8,800, I think.
What?
Thanks to Margaret in production. She found
guys been
another list
busy.
of games we
So
incorporated.
I could have got something better.
Yeah, I mean, you could have had any game
Oh,
ever made.
boy.
Right? But Jeff Quark,
Yes.
the game you were assigned,
Yes.
just as a refresher, maybe let's do this before we dive into the specific. Your game's name was ESPN.
ESPN MLS Game Night. One word. Unconventional spelling.
On the PlayStation 1. Wonderful. Ben Reeves was honored with officially the most random game choice of all time, which
Serious
is...
Sam too.
There we go. Reiner.
Chasm.
And I had Jack X Combat Racing on the PlayStation 2.
It's a good mix.
And the community got Breakdown Fists of Vengeance.
Yep.
All right, so we'll get to them at the end.
Beatdown.
But, I'm sorry, Beatdown. Breaks of Fists. Jeff Cork,
Yes, sir.
2 minutes on the clock, which you insisted upon
Yeah.
for convincing us that ESPN MLS Game Night is interesting.
Yeah.
Jeff Cork,
Yes, sir.
you have the floor.
All right. So here's the deal. I think that this being a sports game, a lot of us may have a revulsion toward it just on its face. But I think that it's interesting because sports games, unlike a lot of other games, are a fascinating snapshot in the real world, the time at which they were released.
Interesting.
So don't worry, I'm not going to tell you about like Tom Brokaw was at the peak of his career with this. No, nothing like that. Don't worry. First of all, this is just an aside. On the back, it has the word goal and the conventional spelling, which now we know has 4 O's and 4 A's. So anyway, a little bit about the MLS that was founded in 1993, and the first game was played in 1996. This game came out 4 years later, and it was the first game based on Major League Soccer, okay? Sequel was released about 7 months later. It was called ESPN MLS Extra Time 2002, which came out in 2001 on PlayStation 2. And then the GameCube and Xbox versions came out in 2002. So it was a little more in line. Essentially, Game Night is a reworking of the ISS Pro Evolution Soccer, the third one in the series. And basically, the opening sequence, it's got the ESPN comes on, and then inexplicably it says, it's a weird branding, it says ESPN, the games, which seems like a mistranslation or something, whatever. Then it's got like a little bit of a show, like a real highlight clip kind of thing showing you the words defense appear, and then goal, and then victory. And then an NFL-style kind of crunching sound effects and everything, montage of like showing the rough and tumble aspects of the sport. So it's clear that MLS was kind of positioning itself as not the genteel version where guys were taking dives and running out the clock.
20 seconds.
20 seconds left?
Yeah.
Oh my lord! So there's 12 teams. I think that in a way they kind of created their own curse, like in much the same way as there was the Madden curse. For instance, cover athlete Carlos Valderrama Palacio, a Colombian player known as the Kid, played originally for the Tampa Bay Mutiny, went to the Miami Fusion, and at Tampa Bay Mutiny, which is wearing this kit here,
Time's up. I'm
shut
sorry.
down.
I'm so sorry.
2 minutes is very short period of time.
you chose it. You demanded
Yeah,
it, man.
I have so much more to talk about.
Oh my God, Jeff Carter.
I didn't even get to the
There
interesting
you go.
stuff, so I'd like to apologize.
Yeah, I was going to say there was nothing interesting.
All right.
Do we want
Right,
to let
Tim?
that slide?
No.
I got a lot to digest
not
there. A lot
go
to
over?
digest. So.
Okay, all right. One eyebrow is off of Tim's head, like he's creating a me here.
He just
It's
threw it in
very
the
unnatural.
trash. Sorry, Tim.
All right, Ben Reeves, ladies and gentlemen.
I have not timed this.
I did not either, Ben. You might
Yeah,
not
apparently.
realize this.
It is a small
All right,
document.
Here we go. Start the clock, everybody. So I have Serious Sam 2, and Webster's Dictionary defines serious as a grave or somber disposition of character or manner. And Serious Sam 2, the specs for that game, you had to have a 5 gigahertz Atheon XP or a Pentium M. And here's a fun fact. My brother's name is Sam, and there's 2 of them.
Got that last week.
Yeah, that's right. During the original development of Serious Sam, Sam was rendered with only 3 polygons when they were like working on the game early on. And even though it's called Serious Sam 2, it's actually the 5th game in the series. Because there's like Serious Sam, the first encounter was the original game, the second one was the second encounter, and they had a couple of other ones, and then Serious Sam 2 came out in 2005 as the 5th game in the series.
That's interesting.
One interesting fact is the voice actor for Serious Sam his name is John J. Dick, and on IMDb, he has like 7 Serious Sam games, and then only one other game, which is called like This Is the Police, which is a neo-noir
recent.
adventure strategy game, and his co-star in that game is John St. John,
Wow.
who plays Duke Nukem. So Serious Sam and Duke Nukem starred in a game together. Almost all the voices outside of that were actually recorded by one other guy who's on the Crow team. The Crow team is the developer, and he did all the character voices and a lot of the like noises, like including like exploding things that exploded into bones, apparently, which is weird.
20 seconds.
That's what it says. And then one other thing is like there weren't a lot of ragdoll physics in that game, but like one of the animators on the team got bored one day and he started like dragging this rabbit around the room, and he decided he was going to program a meat grinder into the game. So there's a meat grinder in one of the areas of the game that you can throw a rabbit into, and it creates this little sausage.
Wow.
That's perfect timing.
Ben Reeves. He timed that perfectly.
That's right.
So the meat grinder thing is specifically Serious Sam 2.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
All right, jot that down real quick, Tim.
Okay.
Scratching his face raw. He's
Also,
rubbing his chin so
I don't know if
much.
you heard the thing about the Pentium. That was specifically the Pentium M. That's specifically Serious Sam. as well.
Andrew
Interesting.
Reiner.
All right. You guys ready? Mm-hmm. Leo?
Start the clock.
All right, let's do this. I have Chasm. Woo! It is a indie game, a 2D action RPG in the Metroidvania vein, created by BitKid. But get this. This is the game that put them on the map. But they made 2 other games before this. One called Take Arms in 2011, which only made $20,000. So it was a flop. They worked on it for 2 years. And then 48 Chambers in 2012, which also didn't do well. Their BitKid was originally called Discord Games. So they had to change their name, obviously, for
Interesting.
various reasons. But they decided to go to Kickstarter with Chasm, and this was in 2012. And they ended up making a fair amount of money. There was 6,900 backers. They made $191,000. Their goal was to release the game in 2014. Like a lot of Kickstarter things, that didn't happen. It ended up coming out on July 31st, 2018. Ben Reeves reviewed the game for us. And one of their stretch goals, thank goodness they didn't hit this stretch goal. If they would have hit $325,000, they would have added a 7th realm to the game, which probably would have delayed them till like 2020 or something like that. It's a procedurally generated game, and there are 1,000 handmade rooms that are made up of that, that make up the levels that you end up going through. The founder of the company, James Petruzzi, and his co-founder, Tim Dodd. Petruzzi ended up quitting his day job to focus on this.
20 seconds.
And oh my gosh. And his wife ended up keeping her job, and he would just work. He would wake up at noon to 1 p.m. and work till basically 5 a.m. when his wife would be getting up. So they didn't really see each other. They thought maybe this game would ruin their relationship, but they stuck through it and ended up launching it, and now all is good.
Love
That is
wins.
Chasm.
Question: would you say that this game created a chasm of sorts in their relationship?
I think so.
Thank you.
They said it was a rough period in their life.
Interesting.
I like it, Tim. Rough period.
Chasm.
Leo Vader, I sent it to the studio channel. Do you have that audio file? That's going to be the kickoff to mine here. I'll let you get that a little bit prepped.
Audio file.
This feels like cheating.
I
think
asked
you're
ahead of
sucking
time.
up to Tim.
Can we play music from the game? And you all
No, it's,
said yes.
You
It's
know
interesting.
how much.
It's interesting. Interesting choice. Okay.
It's
Tim
from
loves
Mega Man
music.
11 too, because his favorite game.
Yeah, and I put a bunch of just coin and dollar sound effects in there. You all know what a
Coin and
dollar
dollar.
sounds like.
Which are falling into your pocket right now.
All right, Leo Vader, how you looking in the booth there?
I need a saga. What's the saga? It's songs for the deaf. You can't even hear it.
Naughty Dog's Neil Druckmann, ladies and gentlemen.
So I was gameplay programmer on Jack 3, then gameplay programmer on Jack X Combat Racing.
But the claim to fame is the menus in Jack X.
The claim to fame, the best thing I've ever
is
done
like
in the
Paramount,
history of Naughty Dog
everything's downhill
is
from there.
program the menus for Jack X Combat Racing.
Have you seen the color selection in that thing?
How dare you?
It's amazing.
How dare you, sir?
Jack X Combat Racing is the reason we have The Last of Us. It's a gigantic turning point for the company of Naughty Dog and show the growing pains of a turning point in general. You might wonder the song choice. The beginning of Jack X Combat Racing features 2 songs from Queens of the Stone Age off of Songs for the Deaf, originally just placeholder, then they actually got the rights to put in there for the background of a bar. The rest of the music is also excellent, composed by the founding member and songwriter for A Perfect Circle, Billy Howardell. In the commentary track, Josh Scher, who's the lead cinematic animator, said the opening cinematic to Jack X Combat Racing is the most challenging movie that Naughty Dog had ever done at the time. And he came up with the idea that instead of animating the cars, they're actually driving the cars to capture that. But not the most interesting thing about those actual sequences. The most interesting thing about the sequences and the cutscenes in Jack X Combat Racing is they're not rendered in real time. But Naughty Dog had a rule that all cinematics had to be rendered in real time. So what they did, because the PS2 couldn't handle jumping from one racing scene to another racing scene, because there's just too much variety of like content streaming by, so they went frame by frame and captured an MPEG each individual frame. So every cinematic in that game is just frame by frame, so that they could actually jump to different locations and the PS2 could handle it. I asked Josh Scher on Twitter if this was the most interesting thing about the game. He said, no, actually, I think the most interesting thing about Jack X is that it was Naughty Dog's first foray into online network play and laid the groundwork for our future multiplayer modes overall.
20 seconds.
Oh, God. So Neil Druckmann, he hit rock bottom with this game. He was a gameplay programmer working on the UI. He absolutely hated it. He said he was going to quit. Then he started petitioning to do design in his free time. That eventually led to him doing work on the PSP version of Jack and Dexter, which was canceled. And then eventually he went on to create The Last of Us. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Jack X Combat Racing.
That was fascinating.
Yeah.
Was it?
Reiner was hemming and hawing throughout a majority of that.
I just heard a lot of Neil Druckmann name dropping.
It is the
Even
reason,
his voice.
the reason he got into design.
I didn't hear the system specs.
I feel maybe Reiner is trying to sway my decision here a little bit. Maybe trying to.
Now, Timothy Turi, we got one more to go
Cool.
off of, and this is the community
Yeah,
choice.
community.
Leo, I have that option in there as well. Question is, who reads this? Leo, would you want to read this in the booth? That sounds impartial.
Should I run in and get it?
Yeah,
We can just
man.
hold it up in front of Tim. I'm sure that'd be easy.
Skype
Yeah, it'll be
resolution
easy
might
to
not
read.
be that
Yeah.
good. So here's what we got. Enjoy. This is Beatdown Fists of Vengeance on the PlayStation 2.
Oh, it's a Capcom game. Wait a minute.
Wait a minute. Shut up, you idiot. Shut up. He didn't know that.
Oh, no.
Shut up.
Interesting.
Leo Vader, community choice. Take it away, sir.
I'm going to start the timer.
Go for it.
Kalal Pryor says, I didn't do any heavy research, but my fun fact for Beatdown Fists of Vengeance is that it released within 30 days of the release of Urban Reign, and though I played and liked both games, gun to my head, I couldn't match the titles to a screenshot of either one. They just melded together as that generic gritty beat 'em up I played a lot on the PS2. Forrest from Lawrence, Kansas says, I did some light digging into Beatdown Fist of Vengeance, and here are some random facts about it. Multiple members of the staff would go on to work on the Nier series. The game was made by Kavia, which had Yoko Taro working on the Drakengard series at the same time. This was the last game released by Kavia before the company was bought by AQ Interactive. In 2010, Kavia was disbanded. Beatdown came out the same day as The Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction.
There we go.
All
Community,
right.
way to go.
All right.
Not bad. Not bad.
Not bad at all.
That last email came in about 5 minutes before we started recording the podcast, so I appreciate it very much. Thank you. Timothy Turry, how you feeling here?
It's been good hanging out with you guys. Thanks for talking about all those interesting games. So yeah, I guess I was interested to hear a little bit about the MLS, ESPN, the games from Cork. There, that was interesting, I guess, to a degree. It's interesting to hear Cork talk about sports games, but I felt like a lot of the focus was just on. Nothing. I was interested in learning more about the game itself. I guess maybe some key features, or just something about what set it apart from other sports games.
Well, if you hadn't been so insistent on the 2 minutes, Tim, I could have really gone into it. That was the second part of my presentation.
Reeves, I felt like you really did show up for that, and I thought that there was some good info in there. But you focused a lot on Serious Sam as a series of Sams, and it was there was some good stuff in there, but I guess I feel like I wanted to know a little bit more specific about Serious Sam. The rabbit thing, really interesting little tidbit. I think if you would have acted it out, that probably would have helped a little bit. Dang it. Reiner with Chasm, I like the focus on the dev side. Really interesting to get the human side of that story in there. But I am gonna and the community also. Those 3 emails were really pretty good. 2 emails, and I like the not being able to name pick them out of a screenshot or a lineup. But Ben, Ben's it was a perfect pairing of enthusiasm and knowledge of the topic for Ben. It was just the luck of the draw with Jack X Racing. I remember being on the cover story for the Last of Us, and I was very surprised to see that Neil Druckmann came from that game. So I think that's probably.
Oh, hold on. Don't say anything. Hey, Jeff, could you just close that laptop?
No. We have more questions for Tim.
I think he was about to say I was going to win.
I do have a quick question before Tim finishes his sentencing. I think the most prudent thing to do here is to have some kind of independent investigation. Because I find it very interesting that Hansen had audio clips ready for something that was supposedly randomly generated.
Also, I just remembered that we talked to him about Jack X Combat Racing on that Last of Us cover story.
I would submit to everyone here that Ben's knowledge of random games that few people care about as much as him runs pretty deep, and
particularly when Leo's putting his thumb on the scale. That's all I'm saying.
How so?
Hanson, didn't you pick the judge too?
Yes.
Which is your previous co-host?
Wait a minute, ladies and gentlemen. Tim, you don't have to stand for this debauchery.
I don't have to, and I have to say, Cork, is he still the commissioner of the vault, or has that title been?
That is Kyle.
Yeah, he's the commissioner of the vault.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well, I guess if you want to put an asterisk after this, you can, but I'm going to have to go with Hansen's Jack X Racing. But, if you want to continue the investigation, that's fine. But, it doesn't change how interesting that was.
Thank you.
Really interesting.
That honestly, I was worried that it was going to be a matter of Jeff Cork going for a joke and walking into podcast recording day and reading the back of the box. I feel like everyone brought it, and I'm so happy that you guys got into it and brought it.
I will say in the future,
Jeff did read the back of the box.
For a part of it, sure.
I will. I think we should give a little more time.
Yeah, let's talk about if we do this again. Rule changes. What would you recommend?
I would say as much time as I need.
Is under 5 minutes a fair thing?
I think it's fair.
Because I wouldn't imagine most people are going to run out the clock on something like that.
Yes.
I would say 3 minutes, honestly.
3 minutes?
One more minute.
Everybody just needed another breath to finish up.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Cool.
Also, the caliber of games.
Yes, sir.
Getting a Naughty Dog production next to Beatdown.
Look,
it's
what
not
are you going to do? Blame the random number generator?
Well, yeah,
I
your
think,
game
again,
is
we
the
need-
most interesting
We need the
game.
investigation, like Jeff said.
Random. I don't know how random it is. I didn't see this generator.
Leo,
Interesting.
please defend yourself. For the love of Christ.
I knew the risks. I almost re-rolled based on what was going to happen, but that's how committed I am to the truth, is that I let it go
That's
through.
right.
I'd like
Trust
to
the
apologize.
All I know
I want
is
to
we got
apologize. I'm
3
sorry.
games that we didn't know anything about, and he gets one of his favorite games.
First of all,
That's so
I have
honorable.
only played Jack X to
10
capture
times.
gameplay footage for that interview that I played a clip of. I have
In its
never played it
entirety.
outside of that. Well, yes, over and over again.
So we're calling it a draw?
Sure.
that what we're doing? Okay.
The judgment. Do you like having this judge?
I do.
A type of judge always
It's really
in here.
good to see him again.
It's lovely to see you, Tim. Thank you so much. Anything else you want to talk about? Any complaints, feedback on the show? And don't say a nice thing. Like, let's get specific. What sucked?
Cork's microphone sounded weird last week. or
Yeah, it
something.
was. We plugged him into a
Yeah.
different input on the audio board because Lou and I were trying to get very clever, and it turns out we hadn't worked out the kinks on that thing, so I had a different EQ.
It sounded like you figured it out, but no, the show's been great. I'm excited for. You guys need to talk about. Are you guys doing Extra Life again this year?
Yep.
Yes, yeah. Actually, Capcom just
All
shipped
right.
off a couple wonderful things that we can auction off during that whole thing. Perhaps some collector's edition. So it's very sweet. What should we do for Extra Life this year? Coming up November 3rd?
4th?
3rd.
3rd?
Tim, what do you want us to do?
Can't wait.
To the 4th.
What do I want you to do?
Yeah.
I guess what do you do? Is murder mystery, history of Game Informer, rap videos. Like I don't know if there's anything to choose anymore. Maybe like a D&D style campaign or something. Like have Miller come in and DM or something just for a mini campaign. Like
Tim, I promise that I have not talked to you about this, but
This is crazy.
You might be barking up the exact right tree.
Yeah, I can't believe you just said that.
Yeah.
Oh,
that is-
really?
Yeah, it's a
Wow, all
twisted version of it, but yes.
It's not exactly that.
Yes, but
Cool.
it's getting warm, man. But yeah, we'd love to have you
excited.
Skype in if we can line anything up. We'd like to have you be involved however you want to be, man.
that'd be great.
Cool. All right, and thank you so much for watching or listening to this episode of the Game Informer Show. Tune in next Thursday for the episode where, right, Reiner, we can talk about Red Dead Redemption 2. I think it's next
Or is it
Thursday.
2 weeks away?
No, it's coming out next Friday. Right? Yeah, I think so. All right, it's going to be an exciting time, but please tune in then. All right, bye, everybody.
Do you want to see it?
No,
You wanna see Bidoof?
I fucking wiped my ass with Bidoof for years.
Oh, I bet that.
That's a bidet. A bidet for the
Oh,
Bidoof.
you know what? I meant to say bidet. I'm sorry. You're totally right.
Well, I mean, that'd be the perfect companion for the bidet.
There you go.
You use the bidet and then you use the Bidoof.
Yeah. Actually, if you go on DeviantArt, there's a lot of art of Bidoof using a bidet. It's really sweet.
He's like the king trash Pokemon, right?
Right in his badonkadunk.
I thought bidet was just a feminine form.
Shiny bidet.